what I care about is you guys doing well, which is why I spend so much time thinking about how to make your lives better. So if you haven't already done it, download the free self-help books that I made, Fix the World and SciVive. They're at t.me/SciVive. There's a very nice lady named Wild SJ who's actually read the audiobook on YouTube, and you could just listen to her read the whole book to you. How awesome is that? You know, her and some other people also did a rendition of the oral arguments at the motion to dismiss trial with the SEC. I think it's cool that we've got a community member that cares so much that out of the kindness of her heart, she's reading things to you. That's very nice. You know, some people have drives. They don't have the time to read. They've got hard lives that they have to work. One, shout out to Wild SJ. Thanks for reading all those cool things.
What's up, Hexicans, PulseChainians, Pulse Hexicans? How are you doing? It is the PulseChain Positivity Princess Takeover of the FN Hangout. Coming to you live and alive. That's too much. They blinked too much. I hope y'all are doing well. I literally just got back from Las Vegas. I drove in, ran to the laptop, put together the thumbnail, and got my setup all set up. And here we are. How lovely. Good to see you. I hope you're doing wonderful. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to say what's up to the chat. And then I might rant like RG does. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Hopefully everyone can hear me all right. And everything we're looking all right over here. David Morales, is everyone still in Vegas? No, sir. No, sir. We are gone. I think there is actually another conference happening right now. If I'm correct, it might be XRP. Like they're doing it like a 2-day conference after the Bitcoin conference. But ain't nobody got time for that. XRP, hi bye. We'll get to the Bitcoin conference. I'll cover that in a moment. But let's keep saying what's up to the chat. Milf Tony, thank you, sir, for your work, for all you do. Bring in what you do. We got what a word, Mastarubio. I want to say it like that. Is that okay? I just did. I love GX. Future Filipino 5555 in the house. The Hex Sword. I definitely want one of those. I'm not gonna lie. That's probably gonna have to be some of crazy bull top. That'll be the top signal. SJ buys of swords and things. Joshua Wu. Hello, Joshua Wu. How are you? I hope you're doing wonderful, man. Someday I'm gonna find out what this Woogie gang is all about, because I'm into this energy. I love what you're putting out there. Thank you so much. We love you too, and we all love RH. Isn't he just the boss? Hex Wizard 369. We are on Team Win. That's what that is. That's a trophy. We are winning. Hex Monkey, my sweet, sweet friend, got to hang out with Hex Monkey in Vegas. Got to go to the Bitcoin conference thanks to Hex Monkey. I had intended to just go out there. I was going to, see what parties I could crash, see who I could hang out with, see who was in the area. And sweet dear Hex Monkey was like, hey, I got an extra pass. So I was able to attend, went in there. We'll get to that point. Oh, the Bitcoin conference. Trevor Hansen, 5555. People saying hello. I love this. Yes, positivity is a part of New Mexico. I like this New Mexico. I like where we're going with that. Sound is good. Thank you. Up only. Sandy Beach. Captain RG3 says it this way, so I have to as well. My lady. You're my lady too. Hey girl. Lovely to see you here. Sandy Beach, man, there's a lot of you in this chat, Melv, Tony, Sandy Beach, that have Doorsy. What's up? I mean, you guys have just been here this whole time. I remember before I started doing content, right? I was watching DS and I would see y'all in the chat, and then I started doing content and y'all started showing up in my chat. So thank you for that. Thank you for always being supportive. It really does take a whole team, right? And some of us are the ones in front of the camera, and a lot of the people that put themselves out there like this and go in front of the camera need the people that aren't interested in that and maybe don't want to do that, but they want to support the people doing that. So thank you so much for your support. Magnus says, hey folks, what is up? Magnus. We got Operation Shutdown up in here. You are welcome for the positivity. I gotta, I before the stream, I was like, man, I gotta remember who it was that sent me this shirt, and I apologize in advance. They sent me 3 shirts. They sent me a teddy bear shirt before the fallout of the bear. They sent me this shirt that says "Spread Good Energy," and then they sent another shirt that says "Abundance." And those are this one and the Abundance shirts are the only 2 non Hex Pulse related shirts that I wear, and I love them. So thank you so much. And I'm so sorry I can't think of your name right now. Let's see. Let's scroll through here and see if we got anyone. We've got over on X. We got Hex Steak watching. STG. This is the strongest community in crypto. 100%. Again, evidenced by going to the Bitcoin conference, and we got the prices over here. I'm sure Mel's gonna show a bunch of what's going on there. Yeah, it's an admin. It's an admin fest. What's up, all the admins? Thank you guys for showing up and supporting. We've got a great show for you. I already have a wonderful guest in the green room, so I'm gonna chit chat a little bit about my experience at the Bitcoin conference, and then we will bring him up, and we'll see who else joins. Like always, the link to join this conversation is in the description of the video. I also posted on my X account. I meant to get that reposted. I got to tell RG if he can repost it, he should. So hopefully that happens. What else? Bitcoin conference, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. So this was the first conference that I've been to for a coin outside of our community. I had been to other Bitcoin centric events in the past, or just crypto centric events. I've been to several of the Crypto Mondays that they have out in LA area. I have also been to a few meetups down at the Edge Wallet. Shout out Edge Wallet. They support PulseChain. I actually haven't used them much, but we went to an event there, and I believe the founder was there. We were kind of, just everyone was kind of chit-chatting. This was around Christmas time. And he was like, oh yeah, one of our devs is a huge PulseChain advocate and fan, so we support PulseChain. So if you're looking for another alternative, but internet money is fantastic. So check out Edge Wallet though. If because sometimes you got to use a different wallet. Like it just I've had instances where I have more than one wallet, and one will work on the thing I need it to work, and the other one won't. And it's different in different places. But yeah, nothing bad to say about internet money. And let's see, who else am I using? OKX, right? I'm kind of using them right now a little bit as well, but that's neither here nor there. And I just totally lost my train of events. So having attended those events in the past, smaller events, right? This was the biggest by far, and I believe, if I'm not wrong, I believe this was the biggest crypto event that's ever happened. If anyone wants to correct me on that, please let me know. There may, I know that there were also, there was a huge one in Dubai that could have been bigger, but and I haven't had a chance to sit down and reflect or read the news on it. Literally just drove in a couple hours ago, so it was intense. It was a little overwhelming in just the sheer magnitude of how many people were there that I didn't know about PulseChain or DeFi. And someone made a great point. I got to stream with Moon Gang, so Cultivate Crypto, Charlie, and Dollar Cost Crypto, Miguel. Awesome stream. If you guys get a chance, please check that stream out. We had a fantastic conversation. And we were talking about how really, when was I having this talk? Basically, what someone was saying, it was yesterday. It was Miguel. He was basically saying how the people that are new into Bitcoin are more like Bitcoiners than the original Bitcoiners are, right? Because those guys have seen their mad gains, and they're all now building companies to try and make more money, or, sell hardware. The amount of hardware, mining hardware, you guys, there were booth after booth after booth. There were 2 rows of booths trying to sell you Bitcoin mining hardware. What year is this? Where are we? It just, as someone who's so deep down the PulseChain rabbit hole, I was just like, I was in awe. I was shocked. That shocked me more than anything, was how much they were pushing mining still. I was like, oh, well, wake up. Where are you? What are we talking about here? Why is there mining equipment being pushed and sold to people? Like, what? So it was like, man, it shocked me and it made me bullish. So bullish, because let me finish that thought. I was like, oh, so bullish for so many reasons. Because they don't understand it yet. And some people might be like, oh, why would that make you bullish? Like, why wouldn't you, be upset that all these people are here learning about this? Because I think I think our time is coming. I really do. I really strongly believe that there's going to be a huge push, a huge backing and a huge push for our narrative, for true DeFi, for proof of stake. Okay. And, being able to mine through staking. So that being said, the other thing that was really awesome, there's negatives and positives to this whole experience. One thing that was very positive for me, and I think I mentioned this a little bit on the stream yesterday, was just feeling so ahead of the curve, just so ahead of the game, and knowing that I know where the true value in crypto, in decentralized finance lies, and that we are all a part of that system, right? If you're watching this, if you happen to be watching this and you don't know what Hex or PulseChain is, welcome to our world. This is what true DeFi is about, right? Not your keys, not your coins. So other things that shocked me, right? I was looking at this, someone else said this. I did not hear this at the event, but apparently, and I'm gonna butcher who it was that said this, but there was some big name at the conference, basically was just like, oh yeah, the whole not your keys, not your coins narrative, we need to forget about that. What? What? Like, are you kidding me right now? And that's, it's frustrating on one hand and like bullish on the other, right? Because it's like, how can you say that? But then, like, I know I'm part of a team and a group and a community that's all about it. And yes, Joshua, I just glanced, I saw that you want to join with no video. Yeah. Hey, anyone, video, no video, you're welcome to join. Come hang out. It's going to be a grand old time. Let me see. Let me scroll through the chats real quick before I'm going to make my last point about this conference. Don Bryant, what's up? Cheers from Bangkok, man. Glad you're home safe. Will Stevenson, thank you for all you do. Thank you for the positivity that you spread and the community building that you do, man. I appreciate you a whole freaking bunch. Let's do that real quick. I'm going to show some of these people. Ding, 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 ding. You should. Everyone should. So yeah, that's another big reason that we do this show, is if you're on the fence about streaming, if you are not sure how to work your equipment or how to use the buttons or which buttons to push or what programs to use, come just try it out here. Just try it. See how you like it. That's what we're here for. So there was Dawn. Grateful Dawn. Good to see you, man. Moondog, what is up? Briss, yes, indeed. He says, come on up, Josh Woo. Kay Hudson in the house. So we got anyone else? Nikki T says, I wonder how much Bitcoin people received with their miners, right? Like, what? Probably none. Probably not much. Fishing with Camo Joe. What's up, man? Ovidian Hex, hey, how are you? Yes, this PulseChain gold thing is very cool. It was done by a friend. He goes by Hexicasso on the X, and he also made these. All these nifty little wooden things behind me. Cool dude. So yeah, great point. So the last point I want to make, and something that really just like enlarged my heart made me happy and gave me more confidence was there was a conversation that was had at a party, and this Bitcoin maxi guy who knew who Richard was and knew what PulseChain was came and, started just, oh, well, like, let me tell you why it's not going to work, or let me tell you this, that, and the other thing. Let me tell you how oh yeah, the SEC, stepped back, how the SEC stepped down from their case. I'm like, no. Let me tell you, right? Like, what actually happened, what the truth is, and why we're going to win. And being able to hold my ground and explain on my own how brilliant and wonderful the products that Richard Hart has made. It felt great. It really did, because you guys know this, I'm not a technical person. I do not speak much about coins and prices and charts. And that, to me, I'm not interested in doing that kind of content. It's not my forte. It's not what I want to do. I did have a couple moments there where I was like, you know what? I need to know more. There were some things that I was like, man, I really should at least know this. Like, someone asked me what the market cap of Hex was, and I didn't know. We had to look it up, and then it's like, oh wait, where do you look it up? Right? Because we're not listed. So gatekept. So it's important, I feel like, if I'm going to be going out there representing us, representing Richard, representing our tokens in whatever way, shape, or form that is that I do that, those are some things that I want to learn. So on one hand, felt badass and like super confident, and then on the other hand, I'm like, oh, I still got after being here in 4 years, still even, I need to be sure that I know some basics when it comes to numbers. I'm not a big numbers person. You know who might really be good at numbers? This that I'm about to bring up. Man, this guy, we met up in, I think we met before this, but we also met up in Canada. And he spoke at the PulseChain Tour event up in Canada, and just a spectacular, wonderful human. I'm really interested to find out what he's been up to, because I do think he's quite brilliant. Ladies and gentlemen, drum roll please. Cryptographics.
Hello.
Look at this guy. How are you doing, man?
Oh man, as you can tell with what you're saying off screen, the beard is growing in because of I paid my dues in the bear market, and this is what happened in the meantime as I was coping.
Yeah, I have a feeling at the end of the next bear market, I'll also have a beard.
You know what? Maybe you could pull it off. I don't know. I kind of like your face without a beard, but
We'll see.
I mean, the black actually, you almost like you get the pirate look with the black hair actually, so it kind of fits in this hangout.
It's gonna be great, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, it is. And just for people that haven't met SJ too, if anyone hasn't had the pleasure of meeting SJ in person, she's exactly the same energy, exactly the great vibe that you see on stream. It's like as real as it gets. Like, so if there's an authentic human that you actually see on stream here, it's SJ. She's one of the few that I've ever met. So shout out to you, SJ. Appreciate
that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to hear you talk about Bitcoin conference, considering, I mean, there's especially the not your keys, not your coins. That blew my mind when you said that. It's like, and you know what though? I would like to hear, like, what else did you find? Did you find there was a lot of institutional people there? Did you find there was a lot of retail people, a lot of what was the demographic that was there? Because I think that's a really important thing to understand about what the conference says about where we are in the cycle.
Oh, 100%. So it was 95% crypto businesses in one way or another, right? There were wallets there. There were, like I said, there were tons of Bitcoin mining hardware companies. Robinhood Crypto was there. There was a small section of artwork. That was like my favorite little place to kind of like look around and hang out. Was the artwork was really cool. And then they had this whole wall dedicated to Ross. It was like the gray jumpsuit that he wore in prison, and his prison IDs, and the sneakers he wore the day he came out of prison. That was kind of interesting. And then there were a lot of people there that worked for crypto companies, right? So like not even necessarily people that are in crypto, right? Just people like, oh, I work for such and such wallet company, or I work for, you know, such and such platform that's doing this thing with crypto. You know, like the people that just are working regular 9-to-5 jobs and just happen to be working for a crypto company and have come to this Bitcoin conference. And I did talk to more than one person that was not into crypto, like didn't have their own crypto.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was your sense of when you came away from that? Like, other than we've already said, like, what was your sense about, like, are we still really early? Do we have like, what was your sense of like, what's next for how we evolve based on the demographic that you were seeing there? Because I think there's so much that you could take away from that. It sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, that was, it feels like, it felt like there's two different ways I could feel about it. If I can put it that way. Basically, on one hand, I feel like we are so early still, right? Because of who we are and what we know and what we are a part of, right? I feel like we are the 0.05% of crypto. There's a very small amount of people in this space that truly understand, or maybe you could put it in a better way. There's a very small amount of people at that conference specifically, very small amount of people who really understand what Satoshi's vision was, or what, you know, like what crypto was meant to be in the first place. No middleman, you know, and there was, you know, I talked to person after person, and you know, some of them understood that. Some of them were just, you know, just kind of brushed it off and were just like, well, but I'm not here for that, or I already have my mad gains, or, you know, whatever the sentiment was. It just, the fact that people didn't know about Richard Hart's SEC win, you know, just little things like that. I'm just like, how are you in this crypto space and do not understand how important this is, what kind of precedent this is setting? We got another friend up in here, ladies and gentlemen. Brissology. What up, Briss?
What's up, Briss?
How you doing?
You're muted, my man.
Yeah, you're muted. I might smoke a cigar. I'm not gonna lie.
It's 2 nights in a row. I'm sorry.
Don't tell my mom.
All right, I'm back.
There he is.
Hi, Briss. How are you?
Howdy. How's it going, guys?
Fantastic, man. Fantastic. How about you?
Surprised I didn't see you there at the Bitcoin conference.
I bought a ticket like 6 months ago.
Uh-huh.
And then I just never went.
Oh, well, shit.
I didn't want to go back to Vegas. It's too far of a drive, and I hate the drive out there.
Yeah.
Just because everyone is driving so slow.
Real quick, Josh Wu, in the description of this YouTube video, there's a link for StreamYard.
Oh my god.
Click the link.
Briz, you're going interdimensional here.
Yeah, you are.
I don't know.
Oh, one last thing I want to just shout out. I'm going to shout out Michael from Seattle. So I'm at a party and I see this guy walking past and he's smoking a cigar. And, you know, I go to, you know, oh, hey, like what, you know, what kind of stick are you smoking? And like, as I'm asking, I can see that it's a Davidoff. And I was just like, oh, I know that brand. And so we start chit chatting, and this other person walks up. I was like, oh, how you guys know each other? I was like, oh, I don't know. I just like cigars. And so he proceeds to open up his little travel cigar case. And he's like, I got something for you. And then gifts me a Davidoff cigar, which is what I'm going to smoke right now.
Right on.
Yeah. I'm really behind what RG is doing with this whole crypto and cigars thing. Not just because I also enjoy the pastime, but I enjoy it more because of the conversations that I've had, of the people that I've met. And you wouldn't believe there's a lot of crossover in terms of like the people that are in cigars. I met someone at a cigar lounge who had Bitcoin, Litecoin, Solana, and a couple other things, and was super intrigued about PulseChain and what I was talking about and DeFi. And he held everything on Coinbase. And I was like, those are technically not your coins. I was like, if Coinbase goes down and something happens to that company, buy crypto. That's not your crypto. So he's actually emailed me, and I'm supposed to help him, figure out how to self-custody and have your own coins. Like there's a whole bunch of, and a lot of people in the cigar world, they've got a little extra income, like it's not a cheap, I should have DCA'd with this money. So this was given to me. It's fine. But yeah, so I'm going to let this guy come on up here while I find my cutter.
Look who it is.
Chris, why are you so blurry, dude?
I'm just shy.
Oh, there you go. You get blurry when you're shy?
It's my first time streaming with Josh.
I know, me too.
I've done like
Same.
3 streams, so like it's going to be everyone's first time with me.
Thank you for gracing us with your presence, Sir Luigi.
Hello.
I like a lot of your content, Josh.
Thanks,
Even
Chris.
though you post about coins that I'm not really into,
Oh,
I appreciate your content.
Yeah. So the reason I wind up posting, I just get down these rabbit holes because dude, I'm like a memer's memer. I just have a lot of fun memeing, so I just get like 3-hour stints where I can't stop thinking of memes, making memes, and just posting like crazy. And sometimes I just get roped into the meme coins, and it's just too fun. And so,
easy to meme.
but I mean, I see it as harmless. It's like I'm just having fun.
Very cool. Yeah.
It was really funny. It was really funny. Bristology had me blocked for whatever reason, probably because of the meme coin thing. And this was a while ago now, but with ink printer, how am I blanking on his name right now? Camel Clan.
Fast Abdul?
Yeah, Fast Abdul. He made a Telegram, and I joined the Telegram, and I saw Bristology comment in there. And I don't know if you remember this, but I was like, Bristology, I think you have me you have me mistaken with somebody you don't like, dude. You should unblock me. And you're like, okay. And you just did it.
See, we can all be friends here. You're muted, Chris. Beeper.
I just want to put it out there that anyone that I have blocked, and it is a long block list. If anyone wants me to unblock them, just let me know. I'll unblock you. Sometimes I get a little up in my feelings.
I actually just did the same thing on a stream. I was like, you know what? There was a bunch of people. Oh man, there was a time when I would I think it was like anyone who posted. I don't know. I don't want to name the coin, but a certain coin, I was just like, no, bye. And some of those people have shifted their narratives or, changed their tune or whatever. So if you, for whatever reason, are blocked, which I ended up doing, I muted more than blocked. But if you are blocked and you would, for some strange reason, like to interact with me, just let me know.
I made a video of my block list, just scrolling through it. And it's like 3 minutes long of just constantly scrolling. I was actually kind of shocked myself.
Yeah, I mostly blocked a lot of AI, or not AI, like bot girls that commented or posted on my stuff. I'm just like, I don't want.
I'm with Will. The mute over the block. That way no one ever knows you're blocking and you just silence the noise you don't want to hear. I love that.
I was that way until I learned that you can, when you block, they can still see your content. And it's I use mute over block like 95% of the time, but there is a occasion or two where I'm just like, that line, you crossed it and you ain't coming back. No.
Gotta have that line for sure. For sure.
Especially as a woman.
Especially in this space as a woman.
Let me tell you, that was another thing. I felt like such a badass. I was like, I was at a party, it's a mansion party. I was like, I am the only woman here who knows what the fuck she's talking about or is not paid to be here. And I don't mean that I mean, there were women that were paid to be there as dancers, as mermaids, as martini glass drink garnishes. But I was there to talk to people about true DeFi. And I did.
Legend.
Which party
That's
was
all I
that?
gotta say.
It was the BART coin? BAR. There's a weird blue meme face thing.
Brett.
Oh,
Brett.
Brett. Yeah.
Yes, it was
Great.
that party. You know, and if
It's
there
part
were
of the-
other women there, it was very few and far between. Like, I mean, like I did not recognize more than like there may have been like 2 other women there that were actually there for the conference and not just arm candy or paid to dance.
Did you get to see Miss Teen Crypto?
I did. There was actually a moment, and I feel dumb for not confronting her. But I was at the Cake Wallet booth, and she was there taking pictures with the Cake Wallet guys. And I recognized her, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh, I should ask her, you know, like what's up? What's up? You miss
What's up?
Richard? Huh? But I actually at that time I was like, I feel like it's maybe more fruitful to speak to the Cake Wallet people. So I started talking to their team and finding out if and when they would support PulseChain.
She did do an interview with Richard one time,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, on his channel.
I put her in the music video of Everybody Hates Richard Hart.
Wait. I haven't seen that. You got to share that link.
All right, I'll try and put it in the chat. Let me find it. Did you guys know there's a new King of the Hill coming up? A new show, King of the Hill.
No.
Okay.
Bobby is he's like 20 years old now.
Nice.
Dude, it's great. I just saw the thing. Sorry.
That's pretty funny. Very, very cool. I just wanted to thank you all for being here. And again, anyone who wants to join, link is in the description. This is your show, as the captain likes to say, which is true. And I this is one of the shows I watched that really encouraged me to start streaming myself. I was like, if they can do it, I can do it.
So when did you make this?
Bruce. Is he frozen?
He's zeroed in though. He's just zeroed in.
Bruceology.
Sorry, was someone talking to me?
Yeah, when did you make that?
Oh, I was looking at I was getting the link. Let's see. I made it
Yes, here it is.
2 years ago.
Wow, I can't believe
August
that. Let's see.
14th, 2022. I just put the link in the chat. But yeah.
Who made the song?
Yeah, how did you make that? Was that AI or something, or who produced that?
No, it's Tom McDonald song, and I just clipped a bunch of videos over his song.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I was gonna say it sounds like a banger out of the gate. I listened to a few seconds while I had a chance, but it sounded like it was a banger. So I was like, if you made that for this specifically,
it's a great song. It's yeah.
We have Freddie. You guys know Freddie, right? Freddie Quotes.
Quotes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Corey, an investor.
Mm-hmm.
Big Brain and I have been working with them on some new music coming soon, and it's really good.
That's awesome. That's very exciting. I love the music that's been. I mean, that's a thing. You guys, like, there is no other community like us. There's no one even comes close.
It really isn't.
Yeah,
No.
people from Solana come into our chats, and they're offering to like do this and that. We're like, that's awesome, and then they're like, okay, can you give me 2 or 4 Solana or something? And we're like, what? No, everyone here works for free.
Free, yeah. Yep. No
Or
paid
can do it
show.
themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What you're offering, I can do better than you.
Mm-hmm.
I think PulseChain is probably like the biggest legit community in crypto, because I mean, I really don't know how many people are in Ethereum and everything else, but once Hex launched, Ethereum started clogging up, right? The fees started going up. And as soon as the community migrated away from Ethereum, the fees started going way back down.
So
The fees have
crazy.
been like shockingly low on Ethereum.
Yeah. And I'm just wondering if it's because of all the Hexicans that left.
Could have a lot to do with that.
Yeah, and you think about
Big chunk.
our impact on the Robbie wallet rating. You know what I
Oh
mean?
my
Yeah,
gosh.
right.
Hold on one sec, guys. Hey, so I see there's someone named Pulse in our green room. You can come on. Wait, did you leave? Are you gone? Pulse, whoever you were, if you come back, just make sure you have like an icon or something, and make sure your mic and your cam is working. That's all. That's all I ask. And don't be naked. Don't just like come up here without your screen. I trust Josh for whatever reason. I probably shouldn't, but I trust Josh Wu to not be naked.
I actually have a
Yeah, you might not. Yeah, that might not be wise.
You actually.
But I would
Actually-
never do that to you.
I have a screenshot of a Friday night hangout where the dude came on naked.
Oh,
Oh, nice.
I forget who, but it was Blue Blum, and he was like,
Oh, he didn't mean to?
no, you
no,
mean
no,
Lewis
someone
hosting
else came
on
on
his-
naked, and Blue Bum was like,
Oh.
Yeah, happened a few times. I something else happened when we were in Vegas, for the con that shall not be named, with the he who shall not be named, T-Penny. It was we were streaming, and someone disguised themselves or called themselves Chris Side Effects, who is a real life friend of mine. They didn't have their camera on. And then they came, we brought him up. I was like, oh, cool. I was like, Chris is here. And then he turns his camera on. And I don't remember if he was naked or just like crazy, but just started just like, looked like he was on drugs, whoever this person was, and was just like saying terrible things. And then we had to like kick him off the stream. It was not good. So that's why we take precautions, ladies and gentlemen. But you are all welcome. You are all welcome.
That's pretty wild, though. My God.
Yeah. The things people will do for attention.
how rude was it of Tiger Crypto God when he was talking to RG3 and he was taking a dump on the toilet?
He didn't know. He probably forgot to mute his mic.
Clip, SJ?
What?
You need to watch that clip. Here, let me see if I can find that link. Somebody clipped it.
I heard about it, but I
Well,
never
you
actually
can
watched
go
it.
to X and watch that. I'm not going to share that on the stream right now.
Okay. Maybe I'll DM you it.
And then
It's-
Dorsey, I just saw Dorsey. I actually, because I was just in Vegas, he was there too, with the RG, and he says, "I remember the captain taking a pee," and RG actually had just told me that story because he'd heard about this Tiger God story. And
Captain was on the stream. He was on it.
no, I know,
Did-
but in another stream, way back in the old Discourse days, like one of their first streams, he had
Yeah.
these headphones on and forgot to mute himself and went
Uh.
into a very long piss, apparently.
That's so funny.
That's hilarious.
Dorsey, he has a strong stream for a boomer. Hopefully he's not watching.
Oh, it's so funny.
Moonmutt, come on, man. Son of a gun. I'm putting you on a list. That's it. I'm gonna
Straight on the
your
block
ass.
list.
Yeah, he's gonna be put on the block list.
Yeah. Let's see if his Twitter's the same as that.
Man, it is so freaking hot today.
I'm
It
so
is-
hot.
So hot. Is it hot everywhere?
It's
fairly hot where I
so
am.
hot in Southern Oregon.
Yeah.
You know what I
think we're all on
figured
the
out?
West Coast.
You know
It's
what
hot
I
over
here.
figured out ever since I started streaming?
We're on the West side.
When we talk about the weather, I'll be like, "Hey, man, it's like really rainy here in California." And someone like in like Pennsylvania, like, "Yeah, it's really rainy here too." And it's just like, it just feels like it's all the same everywhere at once.
But it's not.
Well, weather-wise, that's absolutely not true.
I think it has to do with
We
the
just all
flat Earth.
happen to be geographically in a similar similar part of the world. But yeah, I guess there's a heat wave happening right now, and I was really glad to be driving the fuck out of Vegas because
Oh
it was
God, Vegas right now?
out there.
Ugh. Bruce, by the way, that's called synchronicity, and it's beyond our conceptual abilities.
I think it's called the Matrix, and we're all on a flat Earth, and a lot closer than we thought.
I don't even have
Explain.
any words to come back at that.
Oh man. Yeah. Oh, so the other crazy thing, and this is something I started to notice even before the Bitcoin conference, and again, mind you, I feel like when it comes to certain things in crypto, I'm a little surface level, right? Like I don't deep dive too often into things, but I'm feeling like that needs to change, especially when it comes to what's going on with our government and legislation and like this Genius Act thing. I mean, people cheering this on and saying how great this is for crypto. It was appalling to me. I was just like, you don't understand. I didn't get a chance to, but some people that I really wanted to go talk to was the Stand with Crypto group, because up until this point, I've agreed with or been excited to see a lot of what they were doing. And I know that the Blockchain Center, the Atlanta Blockchain Center and the Project Pi guys work closely with the Stand with Crypto. So to have seen them supporting this bill as well, I was just like, what? Why are you doing that? Because it's not in the long run, in my opinion, not going to be something good for DeFi. And for greater mass adoption, maybe, but also like we got things like Trump coin bringing mass adoption, and then we've got the other side of that where I have people. I've had a family member, we had this conversation and she was like, well, it seems like this crypto stuff is just a way for people to take money, to move money, to extract money, and that feeds into their crypto is for criminals narrative, right? So I'm hopeful that with our ecosystem moving forward and pumping, and hopefully with the the binds being lifted from Richard's arms and hands and mouth, that we really have a voice, because I feel like we don't have much of a voice right now, and that's been a little disheartening.
Mm-hmm.
You know who's not disheartening? This guy. He's got a lot of heart. What's up, Moondog? You're muted.
My bad. Love and light, y'all. How you guys doing?
How's it
Fantastic.
going?
Doing good.
How are you?
Doing well. Had a fun Memorial Day weekend. It was an adventure, but not for a positivity stream, at least not until I get the paycheck. So I was listening to SJ go off on the Stablecoin Act, though, or the Genius Act. So
yeah,
maybe as long as we put a positive spin on it, that we're going to be okay and we stay blessed regardless, it'll be all right.
Well, I agree.
You know why we automatically know that the Genius Act is bad? Because they always name these acts the opposite of what they are, right? The Patriot Act. The Genius Act is more like the Dummy Act.
The Clarity Act. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act. All three of those are like the trifecta of what's going to be really interesting to watch in this space. But what you were saying was really interesting about how do you say this specifically? It's like a bad thing, but it also is going to give clarity. I know there's a bill called clarity, but not actual that clarity, but clarity on the fact that when there's all this KYC, when there's all this mainstream adoption, when there's all this centralization, there is still going to be a large demographic of people that see through it, whether it's large as like a percentage to the population or 10% of the population, whatever that number is going to be. They're going to be like, okay, what's actually decentralized? What's not centralized? What's not able to freeze my funds? And like left, right, and center, we have like SUI dropping as a decentralized blockchain. Now we know that, okay, it can be frozen. Okay, fair enough. So the list is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And there's only so many stable coins that you can actually use. And if PulseChain is one of the very few standout ecosystems that has every single thing you could possibly ask for, cannot be turned off, has no KYC, has no admin keys, is immutable. I mean, you kind of have a beacon of a little beacon in the dark that's going to slowly bring like mosquitoes. It's going to guide all the mosquitoes to the PulseChain light. Oh, that's why I'm seeing it too. But it's really interesting. I don't know if any of you guys have read the Clarity Act or the One Big Beautiful Bill, but those three together are like, it's almost like you can see what they're doing is they're gaining clarity on what crypto assets are so they can regulate them properly. They're getting stable coins so that people that want to get into the system have to be regulated. They know who's in. And then with the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, they're basically putting a 10-year ban on AI restrictions for development. And this is literally in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. You can go look this up. It's insane. So this means that AI is going to be just completely let to go rampant. Stable coins and KYC are going to go off the charts. So regulations and surveillance and control are like, in the next 10 years, probably going to go absolutely bananas. And so if PulseChain's doing its own thing and all these, the very few decentralized ecosystems that are there, they're going to shine.
Yeah.
Cryptographics. Yeah. So like I tend to like side with you. Like my thought process, I think that way, but talking to RG3, he's like thinking the complete opposite, that if we're like one of the only small groups still standing and opposing what they're trying to do and centralize everything, that they're gonna shut us off. Which I thought that was an interesting point of view to at least consider.
Because that's in the Genius Act, right? It's like they have the ability to, if they would like to, if you have interacted with XYZ PulseChain, right? If your wallet's touched PulseChain, they would have the ability to shut you off.
Wow.
Can't they already do that?
I guess that's two sides of the coin, right?
People that are especially effective, they're going to experience a unique form of being shut up and targeted. The Hex community, especially OG Hexicans, are already used to being gatekept. But what I think is going to be a shock even to those Hexicans is when the PulseChain community is no longer being gatekept, because the KYC and everything else is already so instantiated into the cultural mindset that they're going to feel more secure letting most of us talk about it without having to worry about it. And then there's going to be a select few that get kind of, hey, you're causing too much of a ruckus, you need to be contained. So it's going to be really frustrating when you're not being gatekept, but nobody wants to listen to you because they just don't see the value or see what's worth it. So I guess one thing to offer is, in the meantime, just sharpen your skills as much as you can on articulating that value to in a general and an individual level, and oscillating between the two. The better you understand the general, the more you're going to be able to engage with people specifically on their individual, and just keep upping your skill set in that domain, because I don't think there's going to be any lack of the utility of that skill in the future that we're moving forward into, for what it's worth.
Yeah, also too, I've realized like everyone has such diverse skills and strengths that you have to like look inward and figure out what that is, and not try and do and be everything as well. I've kind of realized that about myself. Like I started off like DCC and Charlie were the ones who onboarded me like 4 years ago, and I was studying everything. I was learning as much as I could. I was like really diverse across crypto and up to date on knowledge. And slowly I've like, I don't know, like stepped sideways into a different, like I like making songs and movies and stuff. And I think I'd rather do that than be super knowledgeable and be doing art stuff as well.
Yeah, that's a really interesting value of life, kind of tension of opposites to keep in mind in crypto, because crypto is built on the value of not having to trust other people. Fundamentally, as SJ was getting a little frustrated at all the people who don't understand that part of its value, taking the counterparty risk out of the equation so that we can have less of the fraud, waste, and abuse that is so rampant in our systems. Because once you get a bunch of humans together, especially ones that aren't well incentivized and don't care or are paid to do the minimum, getting away with it, taking out, they come up with all these plausible deniability and escape hatches for accountability. So having a more immutable ledger to keep track of important things and to have to take the human trust factor out of keeping that accounting, that is one of the undervalues of crypto. So it attracts a lot of people who are sovereign-minded, independent, and have the tendency to want to do everything themselves, often because they've been burned in some situation that was enough for them to say, hey, I can't trust something. But finding the balance and that tension of opposites between understanding crypto's utility and helping you to manage risk, to manage trust, which trust and counterparty risk are synonyms. They're the same coin, just opposite sides. It's their it's how you're using it, which determines which one you're doing. But trust and counterparty risk, so being the same word, and once you start understanding that that's just the light and dark side of the same thing, of the same nature, it can help you to navigate the kind of all of the stuff that's going on in crypto and maybe some of the esoteric or maybe less substantial ideas about sovereignty and immutability and these buzzwords that we use. When you really understand what they mean, you can start translating them to other people in their life situations to where it has value. Because at the end of the day, SJ also said something about her friend got the impression that it's all about moving money around. At the end of the day, it's about our values. It's about what we value. And what I tell people all the time is what you care enough to spend your time on, exchange energy with, pay attention to, or exchange money, which is the universal store of energy that we've all agreed to. That literally creates the worlds that you experience within and around yourself, emanating back and forth. It's an input-output feedback loop. The third term that I'll offer, because Briz said matrix and flat earth and someone else said, but the reticular activating system is whenever it's, I say it's raining. So out of 5 people here, whoever also it's raining outside, they're the one that's most likely to speak up. So there's going to be that positive reinforcement there. Or if you have a yellow car, you're going to start seeing all the yellow cars on the street. So that was a reticular activating system is another term for the conversation that was going on earlier. But if you really dig into the values of, so money actually comes from the term mon eye or one eye. It's basically how we compress our values into a way to where it's easier to exchange. The problem is nobody's taught what money really is in school, in our system. It's been, industrialized, and the government's job is compliance, bottom line. So a lot of the conspiracy theories, yeah, there are evil people. Yeah, there are lazy people that cause a lot of the evil just by their negligence. But there's a lot that can be explained once you accept and understand that the government's function is to govern, aka to control. Therefore, it's not maximizing for its population's welfare in the way that we tend to think of that in a more holistic way. The government is doing it from a one-eyed, unidimensional perspective of what is the safety and security is the dimension that they tend to justify their actions on. The rest of us are taught to go out into the marketplace and to exchange our time, energy, and attention for this paper money. And that's the one dimension of value that we've been literally indoctrinated into exchanging our life energy force amongst each other with. But we actually have a lot more control and access over the core, levers and pulleys once we start to understand what the game is. The problem is there really is a lack of education of people understanding what it is that's going on. And it's not that there's a lack of information. There's more information than there ever has been. It's that there's a lack of applicable education in understanding, because the difference between the information to education is that understanding. That's the bridge that's missing. So that's the other value I guess I could offer is if you find ways to be that bridge to change the information into understanding, then you are in effect filling in the educational needs that, again, is going to be, infinite and abundant, at least as far as our lifetimes are concerned.
The lack of education about money is by design, because all fiat money is a scam. It's literally the world's largest scam. And once you kind of figure that out, putting your money into cryptos it's really easy, because it's like it's either cryptos or a scam.
Yeah,
Creature
then when you
from
hear people
Jekyll
say
Island
like,
is the book for the long story on that. If you are skeptical because it sounds woo-woo, that has documented evidence, the story, everything for you to go down the rabbit hole and find out. Creature from Jekyll Island. Cryptographics was, you had something? I interrupted, sorry.
no, you're good. I was gonna say, I literally blanked this. I got just present again, listening to you, and I forgot what I was gonna say. So if it's important enough, it'll come back up.
The Creature from Jekyll Island. I'm pretty sure I bought that book and didn't read it. That's one of the books I didn't read that I bought.
It's
I'm
on
pretty-
YouTube.
Yeah, and the DGen Roundtable, shout out to those guys. Big fans of what they're doing over there. They do a book club every Friday, right before this show, actually.
They're doing, or they did, I took a nap, the Hex white paper tonight.
Oh, nice. And they've also done that Jekyll Island book. I believe
Yes.
they've done that in the past. Yeah.
Yep.
So
DGen
you
Book
want
Club,
to
that's another
summarize
shout
it.
out worth.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing that's been interesting to watch, I think, for myself over the last few years, is seeing us go from, I feel like there's these different classes of us in terms of like, the years that we've been here, right? So I'm in the middle. I'm not an OG Hexican, but I was here before PulseChain launched, right? I sacked for PulseChain. I got in as Hex was, going to the top, and unbeknownst to me, had done a 10,000x. I didn't know what that was about, or that there were even cycles in crypto at the time. But the interesting thing has been going from the Hexican mentality, right, of just being this one coin community, to now we have PulseChain. And there's even if you're a Hexican, you kind of have to be a PulseChain or PulseChainian, as I like to say, because Hex is on both chains. And in the greater crypto community, you find the same kind of thing, right? There's people that are bullish on ETH, but then there's also the Doge community, the Shiba community, the Brett that I went to, like this, like all of these little coins have their own communities. And one of the cooler things I think that we have here in PulseChain is that a lot of them, it's not just a single coin, right? Like we have all these microcosms, like all these small ecosystems of their own that exist now on PulseChain. And they're, just doing things and bringing, to me, I understand the argument about extraction. I understand that argument. However, I do also see the flip side of that, where we have had people come into PulseChain because they heard about some other coin that is not a RH ticker. And then they came in through that other community and now are a part of, the community at large. And that's gonna continue happening. You know what I mean? Like, and so, it's just something I've been thinking about, right? Like, I want to. There's a perfect example. Someone hit me up tonight about a coin, or I'm sorry, it's not a coin. It's I think a protocol, and it's someone that I've interacted with this protocol, or I've known about them in the past, and they were like, well, let's do like a one-on-one thing, and I was just like, I don't do that kind of content, right? We're gonna have to be like continue to be more and more diligent in holding true to the principles I think that Richard has laid for us, like those foundations, right? Know who the founder is. Do you trust the founder? Are they an anon? Like, is it just someone that you have no idea who they are or what they're doing or, what they're about? I just want us to continue to make sure that we're putting that messaging out there so that as we grow and as more people come into this community and ecosystem, they understand that we're here to build one another up, right? And ultimately to build, to move forward the vision of Richard a la via Satoshi, right? Like peer-to-peer, no middleman, not your keys, not your coins, right? Like self-custody. I think it's so important that that messaging continues to echo through, all of these other smaller communities.
Couldn't agree more. Well, honestly, if I soft shell, that's why I'm building what I'm building. you know, for that same purpose on PulseX. You know, it's like, I want to drive demand to this ecosystem. I want to bring people in because, you know, not everyone is going to get excited about the same things. And if you bring one more thing and you think you design it well enough, maybe it adds to the pile and really starts taking things up a level. So, you know, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. I
What
mean,
I think is
oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, keep going.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say there's a community that has popped up that I don't think is attempting to take away from the core coin principles, but they're doing, and they're more my speed because they're like all filmmakers, and what they're trying to do is make documentaries. One of them is making a documentary about PulseChain and getting it on streaming platforms, but they're trying to get it on like streaming from the blockchain, which is awesome.
Is this related to what Tom Gillespie's doing?
Yeah, it's Tom. That's what I'm talking
Nice.
about. I just
Very
didn't want
cool.
to shill anything.
No, it's all,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
that's the
love
thing.
what
Is
they're doing.
so like disclaimer, right? Like this is not a show where we, you know, like this is Discourse Syndicate. You know what I mean? Like we're here to have those conversations and allow you can talk about whatever you want. You really can. You know, in fact, like Cryptographics and I have been talking for weeks, you know, because he wants to talk about what he's built. And there was a time, you know, when we were kind of trying to do like a more of like a project centric, like let's let this person talk for half an hour, you know, and show their thing and talk about their thing and then open it up. Because RG used to do chatting with the captain, right? And those were kind of specifically like, let's talk about a coin or let's talk about a project. Well, there's just so much going on now that it's difficult to keep up. And at the same time, you know, kind of just to my point, to what I was saying about those principles, right? If you want to talk about something and you want to show something, come here and do it. And let's have anyone in the community come up and, you know.
I have the perfect thing. This is something that's been weighing on me heavily. I haven't launched any coins, but so they offered to bring me into their like filmmakers guild. But in order to join that guild, I need to send 10% of a supply to a coin so we can LP or have like this central wallet, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What they have plans to that go above my head still. But that would mean I would need to launch a coin, and I really don't want to do that. What do you guys think I should do? Like, because I'm like, maybe I just don't join their group because I don't want to launch a coin.
That's fair. I mean, it sucks, right? Like it sucks that they're making that a requirement. I mean, you also could do it without anyone knowing, you know? Like I know you don't like, is it something that becomes public once you launch it?
It's like your filmmaker's coin.
Uh-huh.
If you like it's like your coin.
Okay.
Anyway,
Anyone else? I feel like you guys are a little more.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, are you concerned about the backlash from people basically you tying your name or your reputation to a coin, or hey, you're launching a coin? Because if so, before you answer, I guess the preamble is you may be able to mitigate some of that if you're tying a coin to a specific project. So I'm making this movie and this coin is made to fund it or whatever it is. If you explain that as a part of a project that you're making, then people who participate in it understand it's about that project. You're still going to get backlash because it's the freaking internet and people say what they want to say regardless of whether it's true or not. It's whether it's useful to them or feels good are two of the higher factors that seem to influence us a lot of times. But yeah, so what's your tension, I guess, and I'll try to.
Yeah, I guess socially, like I feel pressure. Like I don't really want to be responsible for like the success or not of the coin. I don't want to put a ton. I don't have a lot of money. I don't want to put a bunch in LP, and there's just a lot of games that come with the degeneracy of people trying to like mess with LPs too. And you can like ruin what you're doing.
Hollywood financing and budgeting and accounting is perfect for crypto. That is where a lot of these criminal allegations are probably likely to find more substance than the stuff that's in the new. So those are fair reservations to have. So what is your what is your primary curiosity and the value that you're looking to seek from the community? Because if there's a way to go in there to see their structure, capture what's of utility to your curiosity or to whatever you're trying to design, organize it, distill it for your purposes, and then adapt it in that way. Is there a pressure to where you have to participate in order to be a part of their group? Because if so, I would say there's plenty of other opportunities to probably find whatever you're going to learn there. If not, then
Yeah. So that I still need to. I haven't talked to Tom and Left House about it in a few weeks. It's been a little bit. Maybe, and because we've been talking about writing a short film and just filming from our locations and trying to like tie it in together. But I'm sure they would still do it even if I wasn't part of the group. But I did want to be part of that group because I don't like to feel left out.
copy FOMO. Well, I'll offer this too for what it's worth, is that if your idea that you're funding, that you think it's important enough or you're excited enough about it, so the film, if you work on that to where you're excited enough about it, to where you genuinely believe at your core that it's of value being out in the world and being designed, being created, then that will probably help you personally deal with whatever the guilt or the social friction is that you're going to overcome in getting it out into the world.
That's a really good point, because I am thinking about it backwards from that, because we haven't written what we were planning on writing at all, and we don't even have like an idea about it.
There you go. I think you see potential. So now it's about where's the best application of that potential, because that's whether it's going to, copy.
Thank you, Moondog. That's actually very helpful.
And I have another thought on that too. What if you had someone in the group already who's already maybe launched a coin sponsor your coin, or like you're like a joint team, right? Like whoever you're working with, like you're part of that film team, and maybe the other person is the person that launches the coin.
Yeah.
There's
nuances to do.
There's another thing that you could do too, because I mean, I spent a lot of time learning about fair launch tokens, and one of the things that you can do is you can actually create, I guess you could do like, whether it was a meme or whatever you're going to do, you could do what's like a mint phase fair launch where you have a specific amount of tokens that are going to be able to be on a decaying scale over time, or certain cycles, or there's a whole bunch of stuff you could do. But essentially what that means is people are going to commit funds to mint this token. You could have part of the funds that go to building the LP, part of the funds go to funding your movie, part of the funds go to buy and burn, part of the funds, you could basically engineer this in a very simple way. It doesn't have to be super sophisticated. Basically have it like a meme coin with a few underlying movements of funds coming in that kind of check all the boxes. And then it's something you can also get excited about too, that's actually like modern. It's not just a copy and paste thing, it's your own, and it funds what you want. And I mean, I'm very, very well versed. I mean, I'm building Unity for PulseX in a very sophisticated fashion using that fair launch methodology. So, I mean, I'm always open to helping out where I can with that, because I think that's going to be, honestly, I think that's going to be the next phase of PulseChain, is when fair launch starts coming over and taking over the in a lot of ways. It's going to be really
I might want to pick your brain about that, because I know minimal about that fair launch.
Is that what Johnny Chaos did? Was his kind of a fair launch? Because I know I like that what he's doing, because it's a coin that stays at $1, and you basically buy one of them. I have one. I love Johnny Chaos. I think he's a wonderful human. I've met him in person. I think he does great things for this community and has a great voice, right? So I was like, yeah, 100%. I will pay $1 for this one coin, to say I'm a supporter and I believe in what you're doing and, moving this forward. So I don't know. Are you familiar with I think it's STF token? Maybe?
I don't know how, because I'm following Johnny and I have not seen anything on that token.
Dude,
so I don't know.
That sounds like a Johnny token.
Yeah, he doesn't talk about it much. Yeah, but he's spoken of it. Yeah, he doesn't count contract address out or anything. But
Josh, my opinion is don't launch a coin unless you're gonna market it for like the next 5 years, and that's like your main goal. And you also need to have at least a couple $1 million to have for buybacks. Otherwise, it's gonna eventually collapse when people just start selling it off. And if you don't have a way to prevent it from death spiraling all the way down to zero, Everyone's gonna think you're a
like
fucking
Johnny's coin.
jerk off.
There's
I
some
know.
mechanism that the coin Johnny created. It does something so that that's not a problem.
Unity's the same
Please.
thing,
I
actually.
wish Johnny
Yeah,
was
but-
here. Johnny Chaos.
How does it not go to
Well,
zero if everyone sells it?
I
Though?
think Brizz's advice is probably some of the best, but I was going to compliment SJ's advice
Thank you.
earlier a little bit as well, saying, because she mentioned, finding a sponsor. You could also, because it sounds like it was the business practical application of it that kind of piqued your interest a little bit. There are a lot of artists out there with ideas that don't have the curiosity or the patience or just the disposition for that side of things. So if you find someone that you, and that's the thing, is be careful with partnerships, because it's humans. And, so as messy as a divorce can be, that's how messy a partnership can be too.
Oh, trust me, I know.
So, but the idea in a nutshell is that you could look for being a sponsor to somebody who, like, if you're learning the practical application side, if you're trying to learn, for example, SJ is mentioning that Johnny Chaos has some magic formula that he embedded into his token before he launched it. If you want to be on the technical side or understanding that, then you could provide that and understand how it's application to a specific artist, whether it's a movie or a short film or some other project. Again, once you understand the value, crypto is about values and narrative, I guess is an easy way to put it. So there's some value or utility that has, and then there's all the stories that we layer on top of it. So the better that you get at sifting through the stories and the narratives and translating it to the values and then repackaging it for other people's stories, because we all have our story. Crypto is just a tool for us to try to give us tools, better access to telling our story in a better way without having to rely on all the counterparty risks out there. So I talked a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuances to it. I've just been thinking about it for a while.
But yeah, I understand that sentiment. Like, I feel that too. I had a few people ask me, like, why don't you launch a coin? Like, do a coin. I'm just like, nah, I don't even talk about coins. Like,
yeah, that's where I'm at. I don't want to talk about coins.
Yeah, I've recently started to talk about a few, mostly just because I like the projects. I know the founders, and they're fun. Like, I'm about what's going to keep me interested and here and having a good time during the bear markets, right? Because I don't plan on going anywhere. I don't. And I really want to be a part of communities and sub-communities that are building things that are exciting and entertaining and are going to, bring value and bring attention to PulseChain.
Yeah, me too. And I love their idea, like, to make a PulseChain documentary, host it on the blockchain, and have streaming services. Unlike the highest of stakes, I've never seen the highest of stakes on any streaming service, by the way. Like, so
It's on Amazon.
Is it on Amazon? Okay.
Google Play, like through YouTube.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Unfortunately, is on YouTube for free.
Yeah, I know. Why did they do that?
No, they didn't do that. There's someone that did that, and they I don't know how it's not gotten taken down still or yet, or if this person
But they just don't care.
So there's I can't speak to it as much. RG would be better, anyone that's a actually on the show. But from what I understand, and I saw them chatting about this on a stream, so I can at least mention this. And I don't know if this is related or it has to do with. I don't think it has to do with the production team. I think it has to do with the team that released or that marketed it, and they're not happy with the team that marketed the movie. And I guess there's some red tape and there's some contract, and they're just kind of really upset about that. They will not be moving forward with that team for the second movie, from what I understand. But that was kind of where a lot of this got screwy, was with the team that marketed or not marketed.
Is anyone familiar with Dan Harmon's TV show Crapopolis? So Dan Harmon is famous for Rick and Morty and then also Community back in the day. But one of his most recent TV show is Crapopolis, and it is the first network television show that's all on the blockchain. And there's a community DAO where owners actually get to participate and affect the writing process before future episodes.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. So that's a rabbit hole to look into, is what Dan
wonder
Harmon
if
has
Sl-
done in
You know,
crypto
do you know
since he's.
Slimewell?
Say again?
Do you know Slimewell?
Slimewell? No.
He's a buddy of mine. He's a PulseChain. He was an animator on Rick and Morty. I wonder if he's
Oh,
working
how
with Dan
cool.
Harmon on that.
Wow.
Nice. Yeah, Dan Harmon is one of my favorite human beings, like as an artist, as a creator. I know he's a
Yeah,
flawed
yeah.
One of the things that
New
makes him my
episode of
favorite
Rick
show.
and Morty just came out too.
It did, and it's an
You
interesting.
guys, I haven't watched an episode of TV in like 2 years because I spend my time like making my own movies and like music and PulseChain and Twitter, and the past 2 nights have tried to watch an episode of Black Mirror, of the new season of Black Mirror, and I've made it 15 minutes in 2 nights. I just can't watch TV anymore.
Yeah, I'm very similar with that. Like, and part of that was influenced by Richard and Sci-Vive. You know, like he speaks to that. Like, instead of consuming content, be someone who creates content. And I, for years, have struggled with which is crazy to think about as the kind of person that I am, totally extroverted, very like open about my life and who I am and what I do. I love to sing. And apparently my voice is not so bad, you know, like, it's just been so difficult to really get my voice out there in the world and produce music and, you know, do what I feel like is kind of something that is, it's like this little hidden gem inside my heart that I have. And it's something I really want to share with the world, but I've kind of just come up against, you know, block against block against block. But in that same vein, sometimes I'll be in my car and instead of turning the radio, you know, putting on Spotify or whatever, I'll be like, no. Let me just see if I can make my own.
Acapella this.
Yeah. And just, you know, work on singing my own songs. I've written songs. I have songs. I just
got so giddy. I had no idea. I'm
got so giddy and then he disappeared. Wait, what?
I had no idea.
Yeah.
All right. New show, Hexicans Got Talent.
I love it.
Yeah.
Dude,
I'd sign
Chris,
up for
like,
that.
I literally
It's an amazing
wrote
idea.
those words down in a journal like 2 years ago.
Nice.
I seriously like wanted to do that and bring people on and have them share their talents. And I kind of started doing something along those lines. It was like a bridge building thing where at the end of the show, I was like, hey, you know, what do you need as a content creator? You know, tell me a little bit about you and what you're doing and how can I connect you to what is it that you're looking for and how can someone else in the community help you with what you need right now? I think I had Eco Builder on. And I had, you know, I did the show like a few times. I've been so bad at creating my own content, you know, because I work for RG, I do stuff for Discourse Syndicate, you know, the PulseChain tour has been a huge thing for the last couple of years, but I feel like I'm coming around now that I'm going to be able to carry a little bit more in terms of doing that as well as creating my own content again.
Yeah, all those things that you're doing are just tools for you coming back around. That's how I consider like most of what I do. It's like it's not a waste of time because I'm learning a lot.
For sure. And that was another thing that just I felt so fortunate that I came into this community, you know, instead of Bitcoin, Ethereum, you know, Solana, any other community, is that we have, without a doubt, the best and brightest people in the crypto space here. I 100% believe that. I don't think there are any smart pants that know about PulseChain that aren't here, you know? Like if you have, you know, you got something going on up there and you're into crypto and you don't know about PulseChain, I get it. But if you do, and you start to understand it, like most people are going to be here because this is where I think the most advanced technological, I mean, the fact that I learned about AI because of crypto, right? Like I've started to learn more about our government because I'm in crypto. Like my knowledge has increased more in the last 2 years, 3, 4 years, you know, than it has in, you know, 10. Like I worked on farms and stuff like that. I'm a constant learner, but the exponentiality, right, of what I've learned and what I'm a part of and what I'm doing and building, y'all, we are so ahead of the curve in so many ways. It's bullish.
I truly agree with that, and it comes back down to whatever your lane is too. Because I've become a pretty good graphic designer making memes. It's so funny. I'm like really sufficient at it now, and I crack myself up every time I think about it. Because
Sounds like
I'm just goofing around, and I've gotten really good.
we've all been forged into our own version of a diamond through this damn bear market the last 3-4 years,
Yeah.
surviving this.
It's all I've known, you guys. I've never seen a bull market. So
Me too. So
I
SJ, I
Yeah.
got in May
I keep
May
hearing that it
2021 into
exists.
Hex.
You came in when?
Not into Hex, but I got in on the decline after 50 cents. I was just watching everyone celebrating.
Yeah,
I hadn't bought Hex
same.
yet.
I got in May of 21.
Yeah, so that's when I got in, May 21, yeah. That's
I was
funny.
just like, all right,
The bull
this
market,
is awesome. I want to be a part of this.
the
Yeah.
bull markets, when they come, it's like it's really unbelievable. You're like, this is the most insane thing I've ever seen, and it'll happen. It'll
waiting.
come again.
Yeah.
I'm
Speaking
excited. I know it will.
Speaking of exponential, anybody who is not aware of Peter Diamandis and the X Prize, the largest X Prize that's ever launched right now, 2 years, specifically for therapeutic research into longevity. So longevity therapy. X Prizes are institutions where there's a prize purse that's given for meeting certain criteria in a certain time space. So this one is $101 million. They have 7 years to do it. I've been trying to see if we can get some support behind Aubrey's team as being a participant in this X Prize specifically. Another cool thing about X Prizes is even before this one that was specifically on the longevity one, I've been following Peter Diamandis for a long time, and primarily because he's one of the guys in longevity research that's been serious for the last 10 years. But X Prize, to put it in perspective, the first X Prize actually launched the private space industry that we have now. So it was a $10 million X Prize to create a rocket that could go to atmosphere, come back and land. He actually launched it before he had all the money, but that's a story for another time. What's really cool about the prizes is they've done a lot of these now, and it incentivizes small teams to come together. Usually they pick a prize purse that is big enough to get small teams of non-experts. So it's not big enough for the Lockheeds and the Boeings to really be interested, but for people who are kind of experts in their fields to come together and communicate. And pretty much always there are the people who end up winning the prize oftentimes will spend more than what the prize is worth to win it, but they're still profitable. As a matter of fact, the second and third place winners are often profitable. And like I said, it's on more than one occasion created a whole industry that has come out of the X Prize. So that's one of the exponential organizations that Peter Diamandis runs that I'm a fan of. And especially since PulseChain raised $27 million for longevity research, the fact that about 18 months after that, there was a $101 million prize put up on that same topic. It's a great opportunity for any one of us to cross-pollinate within and outside of our community. So that's a little gift that I want to give to anyone who's listening is the X Prize, the longevity research one specifically, and that opportunity to, put your hands to work, because at the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff out there that's has potential, but it's waiting for human hands to go pick it up and put it to work, because potential unto itself is not kinetic. That's what we're here for.
I have a fun story kind of tangential to that. We were just hanging out in Vegas, right? I told you, saw Hex Monkey, and Hex Monkey told me the story. He said, so Brian Johnson, who, in very much into longevity, right? He spoke the first day. There was like, it was general admission couldn't go the first day. It was, I forget what it was like industry day or whatever was on the Thursday was Wednesday. Anyways, one of the first day was industry day. Not everyone could go, but I saw that Brian Johnson spoke a couple times. And so there were people, there is a lot of crossover with longevity and crypto in general. And Hex Monkey took this opportunity. He was sitting next to someone who was reading a longevity book and started the conversation like, oh, hey, I see you're into longevity. Have you heard of Sense Foundation and Aubrey? And then, led it into Richard Hart and PulseChain. So I love that we have, and that's another thing that I've learned about because of crypto, because of Richard. I had no idea longevity was a thing or even existed. And what an awesome, just all of these things to be a part of AI, longevity. It's
Allegedly.
amazing.
Doesn't that Brian guy take like 80 pills a day?
Oh, it's the captain.
Yeah,
This guy,
the one with the baby
you're
skin.
muted.
Captain's in. He's muted.
What about the RG3?
Still muted. There you go.
Ahoy there, Captain.
Longevity. Ahoy. What's happening?
Hello, Seth.
Speaking
What's
of
up, RG3?
longevity, this
Just
dude.
shooting the shit.
Dog, my little goat buddy, and Joshua. What's up? What is up, everybody?
How you
Hey,
doing?
RG3, should I tell my joke?
Dude, you got to.
All right, guys. Why did the coffee file a police report? Because it got mugged.
Ooh.
Nice one, dude.
Dude, I sent that to RG3. He was cracking up.
Yeah, I was cracking up.
It's a dad joke. Come on.
That is funnier than the joke itself.
Oh man.
Stitches. So you guys probably been talking about a bunch of cool stuff. I didn't get to watch the show. I was having family time, and so I don't know what you guys been talking about, but probably a bunch of cool stuff.
Lots of things. Yeah,
Lots of
really.
I've
Lots
been
of
talking about you mostly.
Yeah.
You know what? I have a question for you because I know you know more about this than I do. We were talking about tokens and things, and Briz had a point about, unless you have millions of dollars that you can put into liquidity, don't even think about it because your coin's just going to go to zero, right? How does Johnny's token work where, that wouldn't, is that a thing that wouldn't happen? Like if we all just dumped our tokens, like does that coin go to zero?
Someone in the chat said it. It looks like he put up a big buy wall at a certain price. So if it gets low to that buy wall, he'll buy back up.
No,
It keeps it at a certain price.
No.
That's what someone in the chat said.
because it's all of the supply is being sold at $1 or above. You can only buy it for $1 above. It doesn't go below that. So if you buy it for $1 and you go and try and extract it, you're only going to get that dollar back out. As price goes up, people are buying it higher. The marbles never leave the jar at $1. You set the floor. And that's what people should have been doing with a lot of things, but they didn't. They get too zealous, or they create tokens that dish out other tokens. And what happens is you have sell pressure. He's created something that doesn't have sell pressure below $1. Of course, you could put it up above $1. It goes all, I think he's got price buys all the way up to 5. So you can take it up to 5, but, and those people can sell in between there, but it's never going to go below $1. And that's only if extra tokens aren't minted, created, or given away. And he never sells because he has the whale share and all the liquidity up on the market.
So it's based on trust.
So it's not just a stable coin. It can pump above $1.
Yeah.
Okay.
But who wants
A
to,
couple of us have never heard of Johnny KS's token.
who's going to go in there and, try and whale something that's $1 a piece and, try and hurt it. It's unnecessary. There's no real reason to do it because of how he set it up. And it just proves that you can create things like a stock that has trust in a company that is going to be set at a price that people can buy into, support. And basically what Johnny gets is the trading fees. So that's all he's taken out. Now, the only other way that you can kind of do something to regulate the system itself is, say you did sell some tokens that you had, but what you have to do is burn that supply that you've sold. Once you do that, then everybody's price increase, the value increases in the tokens that they hold, so you didn't hurt anybody at that point. But then you reduce the supply that you have. So there's a few little things you could do with it, but it's not a pump and dump coin, and it's not a coin that's going to go monster X's. So it's good just for people who want to support Johnny, can put $1 in, $10 in. And that's really what it's for, is everybody putting a little buck or two in, support Johnny, and he gets the trading fees for it. And it's something that
I just posted the link to his it's his pinned post that speaks about the token.
Yeah. And that's all it is. It's very, very simple. But projects don't do that. And you've got extra supply, and you've got dev wallets, all this other bullshit out there. You've got yield that people are generating, and people giving away airdrops and free tokens, and that's when things start getting messed up, because you end up with sell pressure. And he
Hello, slow pressure.
so showed everybody a way that you can do this. But again, remember that now this is Johnny's token, and Johnny's saying, hey, this is my business, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is what I'm going to create here with this. And so it really acts like a real stock, what a stock should look like, right? Versus some kind of speculative tool that the stock market uses. And you have all these other things on top of it, leverage and you name it, in the stock market. So really, your stock price isn't tied to the value and trust of your company. It's tied to speculation. I mean, look what happened to Elon's just from social pressure and stuff. So with Johnny's token, he's saying, hey, you like what I do here? This is what I do. I make body parts and macabre stuff and skeletons and dragons, and this is what I do. If you want to support me, buy my token. I'm not asking you to buy a bunch of it. Hold on to it, buy it, sell it, back and forth, and he gets the trading fees for it. And that's really all it is. So it's kind of like a stock.
Is it a tax token?
Validator. Sorry, I just had to.
What's that?
Shout that out real quick. But go ahead.
Is it a tax token?
No.
Okay.
No, it's all the supplies out. See, it doesn't have any of that stuff. It's
not a PRC20. It's somebody had to code the token, right?
No, it's a PRC20.
Oh,
That's
it
it.
is?
It's
Wow.
not coded. It's just made on. You just go on and make it on 9-inch or whatever.
Yeah. So he's holding all the supply pretty much.
No, he put all the supply up on the market, and as long as he doesn't touch the supply, then it stays where it's at. And he's already set the prices, so the prices are all set, and it's at $1. The floor is $1. Now people can go in there and sell it for cheaper if they want, but what good is that doing, right? You're trying to cut the price of token, but you're losing. You're buying and selling tokens for cheaper that you can try and mess with it, but it's not going to help you any, and it's definitely not going to hurt Johnny. So he's just trying to prove a point that you can put something together and put trust behind it and put something behind it, and people can support you with it, and that's it. And he makes a little bit of trading fees, and that's really what it's for. So
cool. I like it, and I trust him too.
Yeah, and that's what he's trying to build, is like, hey, this is what I do, who I am, and this is how we're going to do it. And there's there's no big risk, because you put a few bucks in it. Go buy $3 worth. Support Johnny and buy $3. You like Johnny's content, what he's doing, you want to support him, go buy $1 worth and just hold on to it. And that's it. That's all he's looking for. He's like, I got 25,000 people out there on X. If everybody just bought $1 worth, I'd have the trading fees and all that, and you guys would help my business. And that's kind of what he's trying to show. And it makes a lot of sense, because that's the kind of things that we can do with, on PulseChain. Very, very simple, very, very easy. I did one within we sat and talked, he and I talked about this, and I built one for the PulseChain tour, which eventually I'll let everybody know what it is, and kind of the exact same concept. But it's, if you want to support us filling the stadiums, you go buy $1 worth. That's it. It's not something that you need to buy a moon bag or any of that kind of crap. It's just, hey, support the cause and go buy $1 or $2 worth.
I like that. That's like setting a precedence, kind of.
Yeah. And kind of showing the power of, it's kind of like, what do they call that? Not the fundraiser thing that everybody was out there doing for a long time. Oh, doggone it.
Sacrifices?
No.
OnlyFans.
No.
What's that called?
But not the GoFundMe.
Crowdfunding.
There you go. It's kind of like that, but using crypto and using liquidity and showing people the value of these tokens, and a meme token that actually has something behind it.
Like GoFundMe.
Yeah, like GoFundMe, that kind of
stuff.
Yeah,
and someone was just, I saw someone comment on a post when he had originally done this. Oh, why don't you just create a GoFundMe? I was like, no. Why don't we utilize the blockchain and the technology that we have to do what GoFundMe is doing, just like Richard built the first CD on the blockchain. Johnny has created GoFundMe on the blockchain.
Yeah, gives use case for all this stuff, and just another little use case, and it'll all be based on trust, of course, and as long as people don't get ridiculous and weird with it, it'll work for a bit, and just another proofing of the concept, proofing of the network, and showing people how liquidity works, and showing people how what they should look for in a secure token, because you're never going to take all the risk out of everything. These people launch these tokens, and you don't know what's behind it. You don't know who has the liquidity in the market. You don't know who's the whales. You don't know how much they sold beforehand. You don't know any of that stuff, and that's why people have issues. Is they cheat into these things, and then they get their asses handed to them because other people have ideas in mind to put their hand in the freaking marble jar and take those marbles out after you guys all put them in. And we've seen it time and time and time again, especially in the bear market, where everybody's been trying to steal from each other's back pockets. And it's time to turn that around and start talking about better use cases, better people, what to look for. Because now, if you see something simple, it's so simple. It's very, very simple. Create a token, keep 10% of the supply to be able to go up against whales that try and do stupid shit. Put the rest of the 90% of the supply up on the market, set it at what price you want the floor, and then let it ride up to a certain price, not anything crazy. I think he's got it up to like $5 or something like that. And then you just do not put your hand in the marble jar and take the marbles out and screw everybody. You just let it run, and you collect the fees, and you say thanks, and you guys are supporting my company, and thank you for doing that. And here you go, buy $1 or $2 if you support Johnny. That's it. He's not asking anybody to go cheat and buy a bunch of big bags or anything like that and try and make token rise and number go up and all. He's just showing people a simple concept, and it teaches people about liquidity and how it works. So I like the idea. He and I sat down and kind of went over some stuff a couple months ago when we both launched. He launched his and I launched mine. I think even Timmy B launched one at the same time. So we just kind of all put them out there, and I haven't put mine out yet. It's just sitting there, and yeah.
I have another topic that we discussed earlier that I wanted you and Cryptographics to talk about, because you guys kind of had two opposing ideas about the Genius Act. Mm-hmm. And Cryptographics, if you want to go ahead and relay or replay what it was that you said about the bullishness of it, right? Versus I know RG's point on the scariness of it, right?
Right. Well, let me be very clear. I maybe overemphasized the bullish aspect, but it is not a good thing. Like in a nutshell, it ain't great. It's a surveillance KYC bill, but it does, at least from what I can see, I don't know the implications on a grand scale how it would play out, but I do see the scenario, and I'm actually really excited to hear what RG thinks on this too. I do see a scenario where there are only so many truly decentralized ecosystems, blockchains, communities that exist in a time where surveillance, KYC, AI, and centralized control are running rampant. And PulseChain does have, at least in my eyes, the potential to be one of those hubs for people that don't want to just use the centralized system. They don't want to use KYC. They want to go outside the system. That PulseChain could be one of the very few ecosystems that people actually go to, because they're all crumbling. Sui was supposed to be decentralized. It's not. People are slowly finding out that not your keys, not your coins is a real thing with exchanges. And that's becoming more and more, well, I mean, not apparently because of what you were saying with the Bitcoin conference, like saying like not your keys, not your coins, don't really want to worry about that. I mean, it's, so that's my kind of my stance so far. Now, mind you, I only spent a few days since, I think since actually might have been even a couple days really digging into this. So it's still fresh. So RG, I'd love to hear your thoughts where you oppose or where you think different on this as well.
So I think short term, you're correct on the bullishness of it. I think that short term, it's going to help us. It already has. I mean, everybody's been excited about it. There's people out there that are speaking a little bit of concern here and there, but you don't see a bunch of it in the mainstream, crypto space as much as you would DeFi, because here's why. So yes, it does give us, tracks to run on that we didn't have before. The government leaning into crypto, all that stuff. But realize this: they have just created CBDCs and gave the power of those CBDCs to the exchanges and to whomever is going to be the issuers. If you look at the language, it's the issuer that has the power over that coin. And we've got companies like Fidelity, Gemini, Coinbase, all the banks and the credit card companies are looking to create their own stable coins now. And even the president of the United States is going to create a stable coin. So now, instead of creating a one government CBDC that everybody was afraid of, right? Now they've given the CBDC powers to the exchanges and whoever is the issuer of those stable coins. Now, the language in that bill, where I'm concerned, and like I said, I'm bullish short term. I think that short term, it's going to do us wonders. I don't think that anything is going to stop or slow down this bull market that's coming. However, long term, I am extremely concerned about what the possibilities are. And I spoke about this on my last stream, was when we helped Uniswap become popular, raise them to the top, what did they do to us? When CoinMarketCap puts every piece of crap crypto on it and lets it go out there and run and rug people and everything else and ranks them properly, what did they do to us? What did all of the wallets eventually do to us? What has happened to us time and time again in the regular crypto space? We have been aided. They have eliminated, exterminated, you name it. We have been aided out of everything that we've tried to be part of. In fact, we raised money, got ourselves on an exchange, and they turned us off. That's how egregious it's been in this community. Now, when we look at things like Tornado Cash and what happened to Tornado Cash, what happened to Tornado Cash? Anybody who used it at one point, your wallet was blackballed. You could not move coins anywhere into a centralized exchange if you had touched the Tornado Cash function. And that's the kind of power that they're going to have. There is a company out there, and I put it out on Twitter the other day, that is going to be monitoring the wallets, that is going to be doing KYC AML for the companies that are going to be the issuers of the stablecoin. That company specifically is a block explorer that is going to watch all of your transactions. And in the language, they have 35 different reasons for your wallet to be flagged. And they say you can't use that stablecoin if they flag you. So here we are again. Yes, great legislation, tracks to run on. Crypto's getting more mainstream adoption, going to appear safer. That's going to bring more adoption. It's going to let the retailers feel better about it because now the government is somehow involved in regulating these issuers of the stable coins. Okay. So if you saw my tweet the other day, I said, okay, so the Genius Act says that we've got to, drop our shorts, bend over, spread our cheeks, and cough for these guys, right? However, Michael Saylor on stage at the embarrassing Bitcoin event, and I hope you guys have, if you guys have talked about that, I'd love to talk about that whole thing.
Here comes the Bitcoin FUD.
He gets on stage and says, oh, it would be a danger to the issuers for you to monitor us or investigate us or make sure that we are in compliance. That shouldn't be done. But all of us can be monitored and viewed and watched.
When I saw that is the most sickening line. I detest that.
Exactly.
Rules for me, but not for me.
Yeah. And that's where we're going. Now, if you think for 1 second that our ecosystem is not going to be scrutinized or put in a position to have to drop our drawers, and they won't, you got another thing coming, because I've seen everything. I've seen everything rug us. I've seen everything screw us. I've seen everything that even leaned into us lean out of us over and over and over and over again. And it's coming again. I don't think it's going to happen soon. I don't think that they're going to do anything drastic soon. I think they're going to launch their stable coins, get everybody excited before they do anything like that. But that's coming or could come. Now, that's worst case scenario, that they shut DeFi down, that they turn us off, that they say, no, anybody who's done any business on PulseChain can't enter. You know, I'm just saying that's worst case scenario, but you got to prepare for the worst case scenario. You've got to speak to the worst case scenario, and you've got to hope for the best. I'm always playing devil's advocate here because it's a frog in a pot syndrome. They're going to just, you know, feed all of this cool shit to us. We're going to see a bull market. And everybody's like, oh no, RG, everything's okay, bro. Everything's good, man. Nobody's going to try and screw us. And then just like they always have done, we're going to end up on the table and not at the table. And that's what I've been screaming about to this community, is to get your heads out of your asses. Quit following the narratives that the Bitcoiners are doing, because they don't give a shit about us. They do not want us to exist. And the people don't even own Bitcoin anymore. It belongs to BlackRock, Fidelity. If you would have saw the names of the things that I saw over there in that freaking conference room, you would have it's disgusting. Satoshi was rolling over in his grave if he's dead. If not, he's like, I ain't touching this shit. I'm out of here. I wouldn't want anybody to know I even made this shit, because it's totally against his white paper, totally against everything that he's ever stood for. Every maxi that I heard in the beginning, back from 2010 all the way up until 2017, was screaming that this is not what they wanted. They did not want this. And guess what? They all sold their Bitcoin to them. They sold their Bitcoin to BlackRock. It was the exchanges, it was the miners, and it was the maxis. And it wasn't the market.
RG3, I don't really like it when you blame people for selling their Bitcoin to BlackRock, because you have no idea who sold their Bitcoin or where they sold it to. Most people that sold their Bitcoin probably sold it to Coinbase.
Somebody did.
Why are they not allowed to sell their Bitcoin?
He's not talking at an individual level. He's talking about the whole group collectively. BlackRock wouldn't have any Bitcoin if somebody didn't sell it to them, and a lot of people did. So maybe you individually
is allowed to buy Bitcoin, though.
Absolutely, and somebody sold it to them, and they got paid for it, and they got their lifestyle for it. They got a good part of the exchange, but they sold their values. It comes back to the value of crypto.
They did it OTC. This market didn't move because BlackRock announced that they had that, and I was screaming it for 8 months ago. I was telling you guys, OTC trades, guys, go look at all my streams. OTC trades are going on. $1 billion today, $1 billion yesterday, $1 billion the day before, over and over and over again, moving from an old wallet to a fresh wallet. And I'll tell you what, $1 billion worth of Bitcoin doesn't move like that without a bunch of lawyers and a secured connection and everybody sitting in a room and somebody made a fucking deal. I'm going to tell you right now, that wasn't just some guy transacting over the internet. There was some shit that went down for $1 billion to move. So if you
got me fired up right now.
Yeah.
You think people that kind of Bitcoin aren't the maxis, aren't the exchanges, aren't the mining pools, who is it then? Just individuals selling it to BlackRock? I don't think so.
Well,
and one argument that RG is making is that he's not really going after, that might make you feel better, Briz, is he's not really talking about somebody on Coinbase that sold a couple of coins. He's talking about these OTCs. But at the same time, if you're on Coinbase, you gave Coinbase a bunch of your coins to hold for you instead of taking the responsibility to hold on to it for yourself. And I promise you, Coinbase decided for you to allow some of that to end up in BlackRock's pocket. So it comes back to the responsibility part of the sovereignty and the values of crypto. I had 2 points on the values of crypto that I was holding on to. So I'll try to find them again. One was on SJ's, talking about making GoFundMe on the blockchain. And if somebody asks the next question, well, why do that? The easy answer for that is because if you send to truckers a sandwich, you want to do so in a way to where you don't have to worry about the government shutting down your bank accounts. Now, disclaimer to that, just because you use crypto to send truckers a sandwich doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to get your bank account shut down. You still have to take the responsibility to do it the right way. So there is one, we all have human fallacy error. So one part of the human condition for crypto people is we have these ideal values, but then we have the practical application of how we're living it out. So RG is talking about a lot of the crypto values that have been literally sold off for other values. And one of the biggest risk vectors that we have to look out for, tying back to the conversation that Cryptographics and RG is talking about right now, is the convenience versus the value. And so again, if you don't understand the true value of crypto, which SJ was talking about at this conference that she was at, she's in there with a bunch of crypto people, and she is amazed at how, from her perspective, they don't even really understand it, the value of what crypto is for. They're going to use the convenience versus the values, and they're going to get away with it even more if you don't understand what the value is. For example, one that we're talking about right now is this decentralization factor that PulseChain has. PulseChain has a unique value proposition in its decentralization factor. That's a buzzword in crypto. Most people don't really know what it means. I'll give you an idea of what it means. I have developers who are building on multiple chains, and they complain because PulseChain is harder to build on because of its decentralized validator nodes versus having 12 validator nodes that they can manipulate easier. Now, I have developers that are working on PulseChain because they understand the value of decentralization, and they still complain about how much more difficult it is. So even what RG is talking about, and everybody's talking about now, how there are going to be these convenience rails that are set up for us. Those are the golden handcuffs. Those are the funnels and the traps to get the masses into crypto in the way that BlackRock and everybody that wants to put admin keys on crypto. Basically, it's a word game. They're playing the word games that we see in politics. They're redefining. If you ask somebody what crypto was 10 years ago, you're not going to get the same answer today, because 10 years ago, and that's what Captain's saying about Satoshi will be rolling in his grave, because Bitcoin doesn't even meet the definition of Bitcoin, of the Bitcoin white paper anymore. Matter of fact, I forget what it is exactly, but if you look at the first line where it talks about not being subject to validation through a third party, whatever, Bitcoin lost its fucking definition to itself a long time ago. But that's another tangent. I interrupted RG's going up. I'm going to step back.
And I say this as a look. I always give Bitcoin its props for being first, but it's old tech. I saw 2 rows of companies selling mining equipment. Like, do you think that you're as a retail guy going to go in there and buy you a couple miners and plug them into your house and actually go make Bitcoin? No, it doesn't work like that. If you're not in a mining pool, you ain't securing blocks. You ain't getting paid. You ain't getting shit. By the time you get that miner, by the time you plug it in, by the time you pay for electricity, you may as well sell that shit. Everybody I know that's tried to be a miner has failed. Why? Because it does not belong to the people anymore. Just like Bitcoin doesn't belong to the people anymore. And when I say that, these people sold their Bitcoin, somebody sold their Bitcoin on an OTC trade to BlackRock. They have their billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, and somebody gave it to them. And it didn't move the market. The market moved after BlackRock made its announcement that they had all their Bitcoin. As soon as they did that, that's when the market and the retailers started going nuts. That is why we have a pump right now, is because people know that the institutional money is in, and that's what they've all been screaming for. That's what they've all wanted. But I don't see any of the OG Bitcoiners out there screaming about this, who in the past would have been screaming about this, would have been upset that BlackRock was involved. And that's not the case anymore. DeFi is it. That is what's left of crypto. And Richard has built the best DeFi platform, the best DeFi coins out there, period, end of story. And if we're going to make it, we have to make sure that it survives, because we don't have control of Bitcoin and that whole crypto space anymore. It's over with. I'm sorry. That's over. Now I want to answer another question, because I'm going to go off on another fucking tangent right here. Somebody
Let's go, baby.
How was Ross Ulbricht's speech? Okay. What do I say here about this? I never been a fan of Ross Ulbricht. Why? Ross didn't do fucking jack shit for crypto. He never did anything for crypto. He didn't invent anything. He didn't develop anything. He created a bullshit platform to sell drugs, hackers, people that are doing shit in this space right now that are screwing and stealing from people. He created that. And all he did was took Bitcoin for it. And he was getting rich. And he got caught. Now, I'm not going to say that he deserved a life sentence. I'm not going to say that, there weren't things that went on in his case and all this weird stuff. That's all for them to work out. But this guy did absolutely nothing for us. In fact, he's tarnished crypto from the beginning with that bullshit, because that's one of the things they use against us. Now, these motherfuckers put him on stage like he's some kind of hero, because now he's out of prison because he got a pardon and nobody knows why he got it, to be completely honest. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. Sure, he didn't deserve a life sentence for what he did, but he's done nothing to help this space. Now we got a guy like Richard, who's done nothing but good for this space, who has done nothing but create, has done nothing but help people, has done nothing but not scam people. And this is their fucking hero while they run around saying Richard is the bad guy. What the fuck is going on? What in the actual fuck is going on? How is that okay? I don't understand. Again, I'm not here to bash Ross, but he ain't. Why is he the spokesperson? Why is he even up there?
I do strongly disagree with you, RG, on this one, and I might have an answer. Take it or leave it for you, but I'm not going to share it publicly. If you want to have it offline, I'll give you my idea.
Because I want to know what this guy has done for us.
He built the marketplace.
Oh, he built a marketplace that allowed hackers to go hack your computer.
I don't know about that, but
hire
I bought some drugs off of Silk Road. Thank you, Ross.
I think what he did during the time that where crypto was at and what he did during that time is exponentially more impactful than what you're giving it credit for now with a recency bias. I think he proved a proof of concept that without may not have garnered the interest and attention for crypto to be at where it's at right now.
No.
And for the other side of it, I love Richie, but Richie has made some mistakes. So they both have pros and cons. And it's just, man, he did what he did. He did what he did. What was it? 10, 15 years ago. And he paid a large price for it. So maybe the answer to your question is patience. Maybe it's what Richie's been saying all the time. Maybe in 10 or 15 years, Richard will be the hero.
And how creating a drug site and a site that allowed hackers to sell their wares was a good thing for anybody.
Okay, so you're labeling it a drug site and hackers, blah, blah. But what it was a decentralized marketplace for anybody to sell what they wanted, because we treat people like adults in crypto. And sometimes people do bad things, but that's not for us to regulate. That's the idea, is the values. So I don't know, RG, I'm getting a little worried that you're leaning into the main narrative in your frustration at Ross on this one. Because
it's about good people.
Crypto is about criminals. I promise you, anyone else hearing this who doesn't have as deep a knowledge as most of the people here that are listening are going to hear, oh, crypto's for criminals. That's what they're going to take away from the perspective that you're sharing right now.
That's what he's done.
I understand what you're trying to convey. I disagree that you're effectively communicating that. And I think that he did do more than that. And I think in your frustration, what people are going to hear is that crypto's for criminals.
No, they already hear that because of what he built. That's what I'm telling you.
Okay.
I think we have the narrative of it's for drugs. Why do we have the narrative of it's for drugs? Why do we have the narrative in the U.S. government that it's for drugs?
Because it's a much more difficult and more nuanced conversation to say, to get to the deeper what he did. Okay. That's why, though. It's because people don't have the patience to dig into the nuance.
He did to bring us all into, to paint us all with that brush.
Regardless of that, what he suffered as consequence with the government corruption, that is a poster story for crypto of its utility. Because the fact that he got fucked trying to do what he was doing, and all of the corruption that it uncovered is a reason for that story to have merit. Beyond the fact that, RG, you're dismissing, he created a platform for people to express their freedom. Now, you disagree with how they express that freedom. So you can disagree with it and say that it's bad, but saying that it's nothing is too far. Saying that he did nothing is incorrect, and you're caught up in the story versus the actual practicality and the utility and what actually happened. So.
Don't disagree with it. I think that everybody should have, I've always thought everybody should have access to whatever it is that they want to do. I have a libertarian stance on that. However, if you're trying to create something, you're trying to change the world, try and change finance, a drug shopping place is not the place you want to start with what you're trying to do. Now, that's what happened. And that brush we were all painted with that brush. Now, on the other end of it, the thing that really gets me is that there were hackers were allowed to be on there for sale. Hackers have created nothing but havoc in this space, have created nothing but they steal from good, innocent people. That's what hackers do. And they allow that shit to be sold on their marketplace. Now, having an open marketplace is not responsible. I'm sorry. Tank Talk Wireless, he has the ability to turn on the most decentralized communications tool on the planet. But you know what? He won't do it. You want to know why? Because he has a responsibility, because he knows that if he opens that up, he's going to let some very, very bad people do some very, very bad things and have very bad communications that are going to be encrypted and decentralized. And he does not want to do that because he's responsible. He's being responsible. This was a very irresponsible act that created problems for us all down the road. And now I'm not saying,
too. I'm not saying it didn't cause problems, but you're discounting the benefits.
I don't need to count on the benefits. I'm not, the benefits aren't what I'm talking about.
Yeah, your question is why is his story being told and Richard's being
use Bitcoin so that he had a medium of exchange for his shopping space. He did not develop anything on crypto. He is not a crypto bro. He is not a crypto guy, and he hasn't been because he's been in jail all this time.
What is crypto without a marketplace? Because you're mad at the demand. Hold on. You're painting Ross Ulbricht with the brush of what he created a marketplace for suppliers and demand to come, and you're mad at what human nature chose to come and use it for. But what he did was say, hey, here's this idea. If we put it into the world,
he didn't think he was going to sell bicycles and radios on his freaking site.
People want to do drugs.
And why not? Why didn't they go there? Because there's another place for them to get those things. It's regulated by another authority. So the question is, do you trust the regulation authorities that are already in place, or do you believe that crypto has utility in providing other ways that, yes, there's going to be risks. There's going to be people that are irresponsible. There's going to be people that get hurt. There's going to be people that sell heroin and inject it into themselves. Like that. I mean, if you're mad at people selling hackers because it's irresponsible, but people are buying, if people are allowed to buy drugs, I mean, that's a values argument that we should be having. But the problem is the mass population isn't even participating in any of these values arguments because we already have a regulation authority that we just trust, whether they're right or wrong. At least by bringing an alternative competitive space to the market, he brought awareness, he brought vision, he brought this conversation that we're still having 10 years later. He brought, these people on stage, these Gen Zers who never would have heard of it, who don't know about, who were 8 or 10 whenever crypto was invented. They're getting access into these ideas because of his story. Now, I think we got to go back to what I think your real question was. It's why is his story being elevated? Why Richard Hart's is not being elevated to the degree that you believe it should be? And again, despite all the other things, I'm going to offer as well. It may just be a matter of time. In 10 or 15 years, hopefully Richard's story is being as elevated as Ross is 10 or 15 years after he did whatever he did, whether it was, it's not nothing. That was my main pushback, is that it's not nothing. Yeah, no, there's problems. There's definitely problems for sure. And Richard's story, without it, we wouldn't have had so much like buzz about crypto. I feel like it would have been, it may not have taken virality. Well, it took the ideas and it made it real, even if it was for people in using drugs or whatever. Not everybody who uses crypto today are druggies and hackers. So obviously it put it out into the world for people to be exposed to it in a way for it to grow from the idea into the real world. Now, if the real world has values around wanting to order drugs and other things, here's the truth, is crypto will have more than just a marketplace on crypto will have more than just drugs and hack. It already does once people understand that it's worth the hassle to begin with, and that there is some value there.
Here's the thing. Since the Silk Road, there is no marketplace. Bitcoin has never had a marketplace. There is no
Yeah.
marketplace for crypto. There is no exchange with crypto. You can't buy shit with crypto. You can buy a Lambo at one time and then they had to shut that off. You could buy a Tesla at one time, but then they had to shut that off. It doesn't work. It's not a medium of exchange. It's not a currency. It doesn't work that way. It never has. It's failed in being digital cash. It is not digital cash, like Satoshi said. So a marketplace is absolutely useless, and his marketplace hasn't proven anything. Nothing has been improved on what he's done. Nothing has come out since what he has done. In fact, everybody's tried to stay away from it. There may be a couple of people out there that, will have you obfuscate the money that you're paying them with crypto, but that's it. There is no marketplaces. So he hadn't improved any concept. So
help me understand what you mean by marketplace, RG, because I was talking about the marketplace of ideas and the actual crypto market, which obviously both exist.
In crypto that exists that Ross did not bring to the table.
He exposed people to, first of all, he created a practical application for the marketplace of ideas to come into the real world and people to engage, to grow into the crypto market that we have today. So I was just curious what you mean by marketplace, because I'm not tracking what you're.
He had a marketplace. He created a marketplace. He used Bitcoin as a medium of exchange, and that failed.
I disagree. I think the fact that the crypto market still exists is a disagreement to that fact. He took a idea that did not exist in the physical world.
Marketplace that exists. There is speculation and trading. That's it.
That's a market. Sorry, that's a marketplace. That fits the definition.
It's not a marketplace. That is not where people.
If people are trading ideas, people are trading money, people are trading their time, energy, attention, anything of value, it is a marketplace.
No. It's a gambling ring is what it is. We are all gambling right now, and that's it. Period.
Hey, a casino is a marketplace. It fits the definition. So that's why I asked for your definition, because I'm having trouble tracking with my understanding of language.
RG3, I'll sell you some bandanas for Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't have any. So, but I would. So look, to get off to really prove my point is that you can say, okay, yeah, he was the first guy to let Bitcoin get exchanged, and he brought some awareness. That was a long time ago, and there was a very few people that actually saw that happen. That was not during the big run of 17. It was not during the big run of 20. It was not it had no involvement with any of that stuff. Ross did not create any of those pumps. His story didn't create any of those pumps. And now he's on stage and I'm just seeing the irony of the whole picture there of the Bitcoin convention and what was going on and what was being elevated, what was being lifted up, and what was being called important, or what was being put in people's faces. So we complain that KYC AML is there to, hamper us by saying, oh, they're after the money launderers, the terrorists, the drug dealers, and the hackers and all those folks. That's what they're actually looking for. And all that the Ross Ulbricht story proves is that, yes, this thing was used for drug use. And although, to be honest, personally, I don't care about that. That is not my position to have that shut down or whatever. But it has created the narrative in the real retail space of what these things are for. And they've used it as an excuse to try and regulate us out of existence by using the SEC to regulate by enforcement versus rules. They use that whole narrative. So he's harmed us more than he's helped us, in my opinion. I don't think that his narrative has helped at all. And Bitcoin would have been just fine without any of that. If we would have had good marketplaces where people weren't seeing that kind of stuff and people weren't hiring hackers to go out and steal people's money and break into people's computers and harm people, then we would have had a much better place.
So how do we do that without the current regulation system? Because that's the burden of responsibility of crypto. If we say this has value, if we say that, why are we here, I guess is my question. Because I feel like, and I could be wrong, RG, because I know you better than this, but I just feel like you're saying that crypto is useless. Like, that's what it feels like from this.
It's getting more and more useless.
Yeah, if we go down the wrong path and we follow the wrong stories fire and let them get away with what they're getting away with. I agree.
Bitcoin's useless.
I agree with your contention of of why is Richard Hart's story not elevated more, I disagree with your contention of Ross Ulbricht's story deserving because of the value that's there. So for my TLDR of
I know you have a purist view of what the history of Bitcoin is and has done, but I look at a macro picture of this whole thing. And if we're going to really pump this thing, we need 30-40% of the world in this thing. We don't need 3% of the freaking guys that are sitting in their mom's basement eating Hot Pockets and jerking off all damn day. We don't need that anymore. We need adoption by real world people, by retail. We did not need BlackRock coming in here and owning all the Bitcoin. We didn't need the Chinese and the Koreans and whoever else is out there creating mining pools and taking over the mining operations. We didn't need any of that shit. We needed this to be decentralized. And the only way to do that is to change the technology and take the power out of the hands that have already usurped it. And that means jumping into something like a decentralized platform like what Richard's created with PulseChain and PulseX and Hex. That's the way we do it. That's the narrative. That's what's got to be elevated. And I only see us going steps backwards when we are focusing on people like Ross. And I'm not taking away any, I 50% agree with you on the fact that there's some good history, but there's some negative history. What I'm saying is it hasn't done us any good. And to put him up there as some kind of hero and to paint Richard as a zero is just showing that priorities are all fucked up in this space. And that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to defame him, say he needs to go back to jail or any of that stuff. I'm not saying that we didn't need to have, platforms for people to do whatever they want. However, it hasn't helped. And if we're going to get retail in, it has to change. The way we do business, the way we do things has to change. And I don't know what it's going to take or how we're going to move into the future with this, especially with this Genius Act in now, because I'm screaming at everybody that you're going to be on the table if you're not at it. And we got to figure out a way to get at the table because it's not looking good right now. And I'm not talking short term. Short term, they're going to freaking boil all you guys in a pot like your frogs. You're going to see the gains. You're going to see bunches of X's. You're going to all be in euphoria. Everybody's going to be happy. Singing Kumbaya. We got it. We made it. Wag me. Everything's going to be Kumbaya until it's not. Until they do what they've done to us already every single time. It's
pretty clear to me that we need to sell drugs for PulseChain, drugs and hackers.
Oh, you know how pissed RG3 would be if he knew that you started doing that?
The Pulse market.
and that's the thing about decentralization is that stuff can exist. Now, if you want to regulate, if you want to try and regulate things, well, now you can. Now they can regulate everything, guys. You want your stable coins? They're going to watch every wallet. Wallet trackers are out there. Go look them up. I pinned that wallet trackers out there. They're going to be tracking your wallet with that technology. And the Genius Act tells you how and what they can look for you and flag you for doing. It's all there.
Well, and it gets deeper too, because when you go to the One Big Beautiful Act and you look at the rules that they're looking to pass with that around AI, they're looking to deregulate AI and make it so that there is no regulation over the next 10 years. And when you add that into the mix for the KYC and the AML and all this stuff for the agencies that are going to be overseeing, I mean, we're stepping into a time where there's not going to be anything you can really do. I mean, there's going to be very few avenues that can lead you to somewhere like a decentralized platform and lead you back scot-free. So I agree with you 100%. If you look at the clarity bill, which is around clarifying what securities, what are not securities, then you get the Genius Act, and then you get the OBBBA. All of these, it's a holy trinity of supreme regulation, oversight, and surveillance that is coming in the next. Well, it's going to be this bull run, and then it's going to be solidified coming into the last half of the decade, most likely. So here's the thing. You just laid it out, and I've said it too. Worst case scenario, we're completely fucked. Worst case scenario.
Best case scenario, we go through the bull market. They allow two mediums of exchange to exist: a centralized crypto and a decentralized crypto. And and they can whatever monitor you however they want, and hopefully you could stay away from being flagged and being shut down. Or we have our own on ramps, off ramps, and those kinds of things. And I'll read that in a second. And we're allowed to do so. I don't think that's going to happen. That would be, a dream scenario. But if the doomsday scenario that cryptographics just laid out and I've laid out is what happens, what's the only thing that we can do? What's the only thing that we can do? We can get loud. We can try and show people that we're right. We can try and show people that there are good people in the DeFi space that need DeFi to exist. What are the good things about DeFi? Instead of saying the things, that we're saying is like, hey, we need anarchy and we need, to be able to have any marketplace we want and all this kind of stuff. They don't want to hear that. And they're running the show. I've tried to tell this to the crypto bros for so long. With all of this bullshit with your taxes and your revocations of election and all that other bullshit that you guys fucking conspiracy theorists.
Hey, we don't talk about that around here, all right, buddy?
You guys are wrong. You guys are wrong. If you want to live off crypto, if you want to have money, if you want to be able to support your family, buy a house and do all those things, you got to do things right. You're never going to have a utopian anarchist state that is run by the libertarians. It's not going to happen. It is not. We got to live in reality, folks. You can have champagne dreams and caviar wishes all you want, but reality is reality. And if you don't get up, stand up, and start showing them that we are different people, then we're going to fail, and we're going to be on the table instead of at the table. And hey, in that case, I tell everybody, get as much as you can during this bull market and hope for the best, but you may not make it through the next cycle if you're in DeFi.
Captain Downer.
I hate to say that, but it's here. And I've been subtly saying it for a long time and trying to tell everybody they're leading us right into the dragon's mouth, but nobody wants to listen. Nobody wants to come together and do things. They want to meme each other and act like fools and fight and steal from each other and hack each other and create bullshit products that don't work, that are stealing from people and rug pulls and everything else. They want to do all this stuff and make us all look like a bunch of goddamn fools versus coming together, getting loud, being real people out there saying and doing the right things that are going to make them actually let us live and survive.
This is a very existential point.
You ain't gonna win. And you can act like you're gonna win all you want, but you're not. Because once they turn you off, your crypto don't mean shit. It can be, you could have $100 million in there. If you can't get it out, if you can't put it in your bank account and run that card and get it to pay the bills, it don't mean shit to you. Your big bag don't mean crap. And we don't want that. We need access. And we've got to get loud, and we've got to get to come together, and we've got to get a narrative that's going to work. And unfortunately, we're in a space where there are no leaders. We're all just people eating shit and barking at the moon on the internet. That's it. There's nobody here that has any official authority over anybody or anything. All we do is try and figure this thing out and try and market it as a community.
When's RH coming back? Are they gonna have him in the next movie?
I'm probably sure they will. I don't have any control of what they do with the movie. But I know that they're starting to film again. I know that they're they want to make part 2. And they're looking at options on how to get all that done and what to do and, what's going to be in it.
Can you ask them to make a fluff piece this time?
Well, that was the whole idea behind a documentary, is that it's not a fluff piece, that it's just the truth. And, hopefully they get to tell that story again, because there's a lot of stuff that's happened over the last few years. And people need to hear that story and hear what's been going on out there. Is my opinion. So, but it's on them. They're the storytellers. They're the one that make the thing. So they're going to be the ones that do it. And
is it Richard who's paying them?
No, Richard don't pay them. In fact, Richard signed off that they get to do the content the way that they want. And,
wow, that's awesome.
And
that he would do that.
We wanted, we came together as producers in the beginning, and they said, "Okay, guys, what do you want to do with this? What do you want us to do? You want us to tell your story? You tell us how the story goes, and blah blah blah." Or do you guys want to, let us do a documentary, a real raw documentary? And that's what we said. We said, no, we want the truth. We want you guys to look at this thing, talk to everybody you want to talk to, film everybody you want to film that wants to be filmed, and you tell the story. We don't want it to be a fluff piece. We want it to be your story. And that's how we set it up in the beginning. And that's what they did. We had no control over any of the content. Zero.
You should have asked them to do a fluff piece.
Yeah. But I really don't think that anything that we've done up into this point is going to do any good. The gatekeeping that we've experienced is severe. I mean, you can't turn a corner in crypto without us being gate kept. And, that's a whiny position to take. But I've been here for fucking 6 years getting my teeth kicked in by everything and everyone, from, friends and family in the real world to, the 3-letter agencies, to the crypto space, to, this space, Hexicans. In fact, probably my worst fucking enemies are the Hexicans. I mean, it's been tough. I watched Richard get slammed every other way too. I watched Hex and PulseX, the best freaking DeFi crypto out there, get destroyed by all these people. They didn't do us any favors. They haven't helped us in one inch. So, it's the gatekeeping is severe. And I don't think that there's anything that we have or could do that would have changed any of that. We've got some people with a lot of money that have not liked what this is. And it's not a conspiracy. We have the best solution to what's going on in crypto, and we are the biggest and most gate kept system out there.
With the best community.
Because we're an actual threat. The devil's in the details.
I think so, because we got smart people here.
Yep. I know so. I've dug deep.
The smartest of the crypto community gravitated towards Richard and Hex. And, and they call it a cult, and, a thought leader following, but it's not that. It isn't. It was just smart people learning even more, the Hexican, the average Hexican is freaking miles above anybody in the crypto space. I talk to people at that event that are supposed to be bright and intelligent folks that don't know shit. They don't understand at all of what's going on out here, or what DeFi is. They don't get it, and the Hexican, the average Hexican, understands way more about DeFi than, some of the smart people in the Bitcoin space. And it's when it comes to people that have built these projects on PulseChain that are actually working and functioning, now you guys are light years ahead of everything. Because you guys are cutting edge of the cutting edge of the smart people that have seen all the stuff out there in crypto that worked and didn't work. And you brought it to PulseChain and put it all together and used Hart's Law with liquidity to bond everything together and make everything even more stable and strong. And the space, if they really understood what had happened over here, they'd be going nuts. This thing would be blowing up, but nobody's going to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it. Why? Because Richard doesn't pay anybody to get this thing done, to get this thing marketed, And I mean, if this thing works, if everything works, and DeFi survives, Richard's going to go down as one of the best guys in crypto. He will.
He will for sure.
Even if it doesn't work, I think he will.
The thing is, it's easy when you're on the inside and you see where things actually are, you actually have clarity. Even if he's painted as a villain, we all know who is and who is not villain in this space. And, we know quite clearly what Richard's doing, what he's built, what he's gunning for. And so honestly, it wouldn't shock me if Richard is a quote unquote villain, is made into a villain in some way, shape. It's like all the best people that have tried to fight for change on a small or on a large enough scale have all been painted by mainstream narratives, media, everything possible to paint to the masses that this guy's bad. We need to have a negative idea about who he is. And so honestly, it wouldn't shock me if that's what begins to happen with Richard. If he's really actually going to do what we think he's going to do, I think that's not too far off in the distance.
Yeah, they already tried at the level that we're playing at right now, and they failed because thankfully they were too stupid. They had their junior league teams on it. But as Richard does make more progress and change in the world, which I do anticipate he'll do, there's a chance that he doesn't. But what I've seen of the man, I do expect that he'll be, doing what he can to try to make the world a better place. There's going to be people who don't like that because it's going to continue to challenge their authority that they already have in place. So,
well, it's all the big people that have the money and the power and the influence that have, created the narrative and throttled us and suppressed us and gatekept us. So it's been that uphill battle. Let me answer Mel real quick. I don't know on what this was referencing or what we were talking about when this happened. Why is the Trump organization buying ETH and Bitcoin? Because they know what they're going to do. The ETH and Bitcoin is what's regulated. And they know that, if they pump this thing and they get retail to come in and they have their CBDC, their stable coins, they can get rid of all of DeFi and everything else. That's where all the money is going to flow, is to Bitcoin and ETH for this cycle, whatever, or whatever they're going to do with it. So I mean, that's why I think they're buying it. They want to capitalize on what's about to happen. And we're going to see big pumps. Now, they're not going to buy, Hex and Pulse and PulseX. I don't see that happening. Who's advising them, right? Do you honestly think that the Trumps are actually know what they're doing in here? Do you think that they don't have advisors, that they don't have people that they've hired, that they've brought in that are showing them things? Guess what? It wasn't any of us.
I guarantee Trump doesn't really know what's happening.
He doesn't, but his kids that are running the show over there with their whole crypto operation, there's advisors. There's people that got in their ear.
Yeah.
Whether it's
David Sachs
or whoever.
Sachs is what cryptos are, I think.
Yeah, and
so he's sure they're getting. If you look at his ideology, you'll probably get an idea of what they're being fed.
Yeah, so they've got handlers that are telling them what to do and sending regulation the way they want regulations. You think this Genius Act just popped out of the last couple of weeks? No, this thing's been wrote for a long time. It's been waiting to get dropped on a desk to get passed. So somebody in the crypto space or BlackRock or whomever created this. Whether Armstrong was involved or CZ was involved or Justin Sun was involved or whoever was involved in putting this thing together. I mean, I'm just saying the names. Those are the guys to talk to, right? Those are the guys that are the ones to benefit from this whole thing. Those are the guys with the money. Those are the guys that are putting money into their coffers. So look, it's not that hard to follow the money, people. It's not.
And if you don't know where to start, just go back to the legislation that was enacted during the last run-up that gave all of the banks the sunset period that they have now so that they could custodian crypto assets. Just look at the timelines, look at the legislation. I mean, and you'll be able to, it's a rabbit hole and it's boring. It's not as fun or as engaging as a YouTube video, but the information is out there about the difference between the narrative and the story that we're being sold and the facts of the case, which is this stuff doesn't happen overnight. It's, planted 5-10 years in advance. And it's, we're seeing the sprouts of what was planted 5 years ago. So right now we need to be planting seeds in the ground so that in 5, 10, 15 years, it's our nutrients that are coming up from the soil. We have, the hexakin, the crypto, actual values trying to be maintained, because right now the soil is being depleted, to use a farming analogy.
So
Here's
what I see as far as, I say, okay, what do we do? How can we, what do we talk about? Let's talk about something that's positive, that, is not a drug exchange, or a hackathon exchange. What does Hex do for the normal average everyday person? Well, it gives a pension plan back to a blue collar worker, is what it does. That's the kind of narrative that we should be putting out there. Like, hey, look, real people out here are really hurting. And that's why everybody's pissed. That's why everybody is upset with everybody else, is because the working man, the real guy, has got a fucking raw deal. And I know that because I worked, most of you guys didn't work like I worked 35 fucking years busting my ass for 16 hours a day, 6-7 days a week to feed my family. I fucking did that. And I watched my pension go out the fucking door. I watched my 401k go out the fucking window while I was working harder and harder and harder and making less and less and less. So I'm passionate about this because I know a bunch of guys that are out there that didn't get to get out like I did. I got lucky that I was able to do the research and had enough know-it-all to go out and build businesses on the side, to go out and learn on the side of what can I save myself with? Because if I was still a millwright, I'd be sunk right now. I would still be their bitch. And I know a bunch of people out there that are their bitch. And this is the narrative that we need to tell. We need to tell that people can go out there and create wealth, generational wealth, or wealth for themselves that at least can help them to retire with crypto. That's the kind of stuff we need to be talking about. That's the kind of use case that we could bring to the regulator to show them how important this is and how good this is. Like what we were talking about in the beginning of Hex, when we were talking about T-shares and staking and showing people the value of that. That's what this thing is. That's what this thing can do for people. And it's good. It's wholesome. It's the people's money. It's the people's savior. It can help get them out of the financial woes that the world has created for all of us. And that's the narrative. That's it. That's all we have to talk about. And if we can go out there and push that and put real faces and voices and lifestyles behind it versus Wen Lambo and Dick with Butt and all this other bullshit, if we can get that narrative out there of how important this is to real people and how taking it away would hurt them, and if we get enough people behind it and we fill up stadiums and we start screaming about it, then maybe we got a chance. But if we don't, we got a couple cycles.
We've heard a lot of doom and gloom tonight, but I just want to say, don't worry, guys. Everything's going to be all right.
Yeah, this was the positivity princess takeover. What's going on?
Yeah.
I do have to say, RG3 has hit a magic pocket, and everything he's saying is fully inspiring me and getting me fired up, even though it's more on the negative side. I'm getting fired up about it.
But that's how real change happens. If you watch at the end of the movie, I had a moment where I got to tell everybody, look, man, I don't know what's going to happen to this thing. I don't know where it's going to go. But, in this community, yeah, we sometimes we look like a bunch of fools, but we're misfits and we want something good for the world. We all think like Richard does. Richard wants something good for the world. He wants to change the world for the better. He wants people to know him for what he's done good. And I believe that. And for us to do that, it's got to be done by the downtrodden, the misfits, the people that have real passion to go out there and win, because every revolution, every underdog fight has been won by the misfits. And that's what we are. And they've tagged us with that. We should wear it like a badge of honor and go out and honor it. And everything that's ever been done that's good in the world has been done by people like that. And that's what I want people to understand. And I want you to feel that way so you can go out and do what it is that you do by promoting something that's good. And if we all do that, if we all do enough of that and we all come together on it, then maybe we got a chance. Maybe we got a chance. And again, I'm not trying to be Mr. Doom and Gloom. And I know you're going to have a good cycle and this thing is going to pump and the rising tide's going to raise all ships and all that kind of stuff. But they're preparing the pig for the roast, guys.
It might have sounded negative, but it was actually positive. RG was just letting us know we've been through the desert, so now we're about to get the temptation period. So he was warning everyone, don't take the temptations. But hey, for those of you that are just waiting for when pump so that you can sell into whatever values you believe are worth maintaining for your own life, I will add too that the generational wealth narrative is a great stake to get people in the door, to get their, to get them listen, to get their attention in this, attention economy. And that, but for what's it called? Not recidivism, but maintaining, the people who are really serious about it, who find a real application where it's actually valuable in their life, whether it's the fact that crypto gives them the ability to still operate and live their life, whether they're going through a brutal divorce or being persecuted by the SEC, without having to have as much reliance on some judge signing a piece of paper to, without as much reliance. Because here's a true story. You can own 6 properties and a judge signs a piece of paper, and now legally you don't own those properties anymore until you pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to have a hearing so that you can have the right to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to have a trial, to then maybe go and fight a trial to then own those 6 properties again. True story. And trials next month. We've been fighting this for 3 years. So that's one fun little side quest I'm on right now. And crypto has helped me personally in navigating that. Now, is this the stream to tell all the details? No, that's too nuanced and specific, and it wouldn't make, there's too many individuals out there whose eyes would glaze over. But if you can take what you learn from these experiences that you have in real life and then help translate them to other people's stories so that they can find value, so that they can find practicality and practice them in their lives, then that's taking experience and integrating it into wisdom. So that's another fun little, that's a little message that I like to share when I can, is the definition of wisdom, because it's one of those words that we use, but it's kind of hard to pin down what we mean when we say it. So I just offer a technical definition. If you take experience and integrate it into something that's useful or of more value, then that's usually what we mean when we're talking about wisdom. So go ahead, Briz.
Moondog, you kind of said it right there. Is the government can kind of fuck with you no matter what. Like, they can shut down your bank account and throw you in prison, I guess. And so, like, everyone's like all scared about this stablecoin Genius Act thing, but I don't know. It kind of sounds to me like Circle can already do that with USDC. Like, they can just shut down. Yeah, that's what everyone was worried about. PulseChain, is USDC just going to shut down all of the USDC coins on PulseChain? I don't know. I'm kind of scared, but it all worked out. And so, the government can screw us 6 ways from Sunday, and but
it's about having
I don't got time to be worried about all this. In fact, I'm ignorantly blissful. I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about that.
Well, that's when they fry you in the pot, and that's what we're talking about.
I've heard this for the last 10 years with Bitcoin.
No. They haven't put regulations in place. Of course, Circle could turn it off, but would Circle turn it off? No, they don't have no reason to. They had no reason to.
So why would the government turn off our
because
money?
Now we have a regulator in place. Now we have a regulator that can stop you from doing things. Now they have a reason to run it through the big bad. Now the exchanges can make it look like the big bad government did it to you, not them.
Here's the easy answer to that question, Briz. Why would they do it? That's not for us to answer. Once they have the power to do it, their reason is all that matters, because they have the power and they decide the reason. We have no say. That's what our
the truth is. You don't have to worry about the person you give the power to right now. It's about the people in the future that have that power.
Well, the power that's given to them based off of the precedents and infrastructure that's being set up, and RG say, and again, going to the farming thing, planting the seeds now so that in 5 years, the stories that are coming up out of the ground being at the table now, so that versus finding ourselves on the table then.
We can't wait for 3 years. We can't just sit back and idly go, everything's cool, man. We're good. And then 3 years from now, we're still drug dealers, terrorists, money launderers, and hackers.
I'll never stop being that.
We can't let that be the narrative so that they can push us out of existence. We have to change the narrative. We have to do it now. And by the time they do start to think about it, it's too big. It's a space that is already too important. There's real people involved. That's what we have to create. if we don't create that, then it's going to be very easy for them to shut the whole thing off or do whatever they want to it. And
I feel like we have created that space though of being too big to shut down.
Think about this. Think about your average. Think about what you think of your average Gen Zer, and think of yourself as competing with the government and mass media or whatever, TikTok, to be school for them, because school doesn't exist anymore. Like what we think of school, what we were sold that school is, that was sold out to the Federal Reserve, the indoctrination system a long time ago. So think about Gen Zers now don't have school, and they have government school. They have the default one that we've all been told, the public education system. But that's not going to get people to understand crypto in the way that we know that Gen Zers or the kids of the future need to understand it. They have no, Gen Zers aren't millennials. They don't have recollection of Ross Ulbricht like I do. And us millennials, we have different perspectives on things like Ross Ulbricht than, for example, Captain and people that are older than us and coming from a different perspective. What we have right now is, like you said, it's the people in the future that we have to worry about. So don't, there's that freaking Kamala Harris quote where she talks about being unburdened by what has been or whatever it is. As janky as that is, or as laughable as it is, if you use it as a personal reminder that, oh, hey, all of this, whatever place that you're coming from, that's all the knowledge, everything that's reasonable to you, that just makes sense to you. All of these kids haven't been educated on that stuff. They don't even and I say kids because I'm giving it into a context where you can understand that you have information and experience that is worth transmitting to the next generation, to the next generation of crypto people, to the next generation of humans. So I guess that's my idea. Throw it out there in the marketplace of ideas for y'all to do what you will with, because that's what crypto is supposed to be about.
Well, see, there's a lot of sayings like, if you don't know your history, you're going to repeat it. And that's what I'm seeing here. I've been through market cycles where people have robbed from us, and we've had, I owned a home in 2008 when the market crash happened. I was out there working and doing stuff during all this stuff. I've experienced these things. I've seen what the government does when they dish out trillions of dollars worth of our tax dollars to bail out banks and protect them and not protect us. I've seen it all. I've been through it all. And so yes, I know there's a lot of people that don't understand the real world like those of us who have. And that's where I say, hey, you need to shut up about the boomers and the Gen Xers, and you need to start fucking tapping into it, because there's wisdom there. There's knowledge there. There's stuff that we've been through that you fucking motherfucker don't know anything about yet. There is stuff that's coming your way that we see that you guys better fucking prepare yourselves, because you think this thing that FTX did is new. Nah, that shit happened way better by Bernie Madoff. He did it for 25 years, did a much better job of it than him, and died in prison. This stuff has been going on forever. Like I said, there's nothing new under the sun. I've said it a million times. You guys need to understand that. And you guys need to understand that it's coming for you. They are coming for you. They are about to try and shut you down. So now is the time to prepare, because it's probably going to be years before all of this stuff comes to fruition, but it's time to prepare. It's time to get the people involved. It's time to create a movement instead of talking about it, instead of hoping about it, instead of spouting out bullshit and conspiracy theories. Get real, get active, and start talking about what the good things are in DeFi and how we can preserve it and what it means to real regular people that are doing good things. So it's time to prepare. That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to, like Briss said, be a downer and try and break things down and say, hey, the sky's falling, but the sky is falling. A few years is going to happen quick. And you don't want to wake up a few years from now and go, oh shit, we should have prepared for this shit. We should have, man, if we would have been a bigger coalition of people speaking on a unified front, man, we might have been able to save this thing. But they painted us all with the same brush. And now as we sit here and smoke our weed and sit in our living room and eat our fucking bonbons and hang out and do nothing, man, we let this one get away from us. And now it's all ruined. So
there's a lot of people who have heard in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, but even fewer people have heard the expanded version of the aphorism, which is, if you study history, you will lose an eye, but in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. So that's actually where it originated from. And to talk about where it originated even further, when I said that money comes from the word mon eye, meaning one eye, that goes all the way back to the Nordic myths of Odin losing an eye and his search for knowledge and expansion on the tree. Briz is doing the Illuminati, but but yeah, understanding the marketplace that we're in and how that's going to evolve and expand, instead of versus just waiting, is obviously the proactive choice to take. Because crypto is about taking responsibility. So people hear sovereignty and freedom, and those are the more positive ways of saying the same word, because responsibility is freedom is responsibility. And what they say, with great responsibility comes great power. It's because those words are synonyms as well.
Great responsibility.
With responsibility is actually your ability to respond. And most people think of responsibility as fault, and they're so wrapped up in their egos and the stories they tell themselves about themselves and what people think of them. They don't want to be seen as at fault. They don't want to be seen as less human, whatever it is. So they shirk responsibility because they don't want to be seen at fault. But if you can separate for yourself correctly that fault and the ability to respond are not the same. You can be responsible for resolving a situation that you did not cause. So that's one of the traps that's easy for our human nature of just wanting to conserve energy for survival reasons and be lazy can easily fall into, is if we're comfortable and we don't see an immediate reason to have to respond, then our survival system is going to say, why expend energy? Why take that risk? Don't take the responsibility. But that's the choice that we have. Say again?
Kind of like what Ross did when he built the Silk Road.
Yeah, he took on the responsibility of, hey, there's this idea of Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, whatever, not being regulated by the authorities. Let me put together some code for humans to come together and use it, however humans are going to use it. And there's, we already talked about that. But he took upon himself, and he took responsibility for it because he ended up paying the price. So he put the idea.
He didn't admit to it. He fought it and lost, so that he didn't take responsibility for it. He had accountability for it, but he didn't take responsibility for it.
Correct. He had both, and you're right. I did use accountability would be a better word. He took accountability for the legal process, which is actually separate from what he did, because again, unless you just implicitly trust the legal process and without going into all of that, and it's a whole separate thing. Like him being locked up the way that he was, that comes to the point of
Moondog.
Guys, I gotta head out. Thanks for the awesome conversation. This has been fun.
My Starlink might be going out.
Thanks for coming.
Later, guys.
Me too.
Later, gal.
Yeah.
Oh,
I had a long drive, so I'll see y'all later.
Thanks.
My Starlink must have went out. Love and light, y'all.
All right. What's up, Max?
Oh, are people still sticking around?
Yeah. People are sticking around. We're not going to shut it down yet.
Hey.
Give it a few more minutes, and then we'll shut down. Max, come in. I'll let him chat.
Yeah. I was just listening. I don't really have anything to say.
You're pulling a brand on us.
They mentioned that
I was making food.
Something happened to him. What happened to him?
Who's that?
Valiant Brand.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't hear anything. No,
Okay.
Brand used to literally come in here when we first started the show, and he'd sit there on screen, and he wouldn't say a word. He'd just sit there and hang out with us and just sit there. So anyway, but no, I mean, I'm trying to wake everybody up and trying to get a coalition started of people coming together and, speaking truth to power with acumen, with accountability, responsibility,
articulation, and in a way that makes sense to the people they're talking to.
And a message that gets out there that says, hey, this DeFi thing should survive. Look, it's got guys retired that didn't have retirement plans. There's value in it. There's good people in it. And here's what we're going to have to give up. And this is probably, in order for it to survive, these are the things. I've talked to a lot of politicians at the local localer level than, you know, senators and congressmen and stuff. I'm not talking to people at that level, although we have talked to some Congress people. But I'm talking about treasurers, governors, people like that are asking to learn about crypto, to understand what it is that we want. They want to know how are they going to go in and try and legislate for us, for the people, because they do. They listen to constituents. And at a smaller level, you know, at a higher level, they listen to, you know, hey, we got, you know, this many thousand constituents that said something. But at the local level, I'm hearing them say, look, we'd like to lean in. We'd like to advocate. We'd like to be part of what you guys are doing. But you got to realize that we have pitfalls. We have things that we see here that we have to be aware of. We can't go out there and support something that we're seeing everybody who does support it go to jail for, or get sued for, or hurts people. Let's face it, you know, 90% of crypto is garbage. And the people that have leaned into it, you know, mostly celebrities and whatnot, they've been burnt by it. So these politicians are trying to be very careful who they talk to, what they lean into, what kind of policies they're trying to talk about, that kind of stuff. So we have to get out there and start appealing to their cares and worries about their constituents. How safe and what kind of things are we willing to give up for it? Bitcoin gave it all up. They gave up the whole fucking tamale for this thing. They've given it to BlackRock, and they're allowing regulators to come and put a CBDC in the middle of all their exchanges. They gave up. They gave all, you guys can check our wallets. You guys can throttle us down if you want. You can do whatever you want. That's what Bitcoin crypto has done. That's it. It's over with, as far as I'm concerned. They gave it up. So now you're muted, Briss. You're muted. Or did I shut down? Hold on a second.
Can you hear me? Chris, I think you're
All right.
muted.
Yeah, it's something with StreamYard. It keeps changing my microphone.
Oh.
But with that said, you know, Bitcoin has won the crypto war. It is here to stay forever. You know, it's got government regulation now. It's got acceptance from the current administration. Crypto won, or Bitcoin and Ethereum have won. So with that said, don't worry about it, guys. We're gonna be fine. I know there's a lot of doom and gloom, but don't worry about it. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna be fine. We're gonna get $1 million Bitcoin. So if that's something that interests you, well, you get
Charlie
it for
said 2035, I think.
what?
Cultivate Crypto, I think on that stream with RG3 and SJ, he said by, it was like 2036 or something like that, it would be $1
Probably
million.
2032. But I think by 2028, it's going to be $1 million, no doubt.
Who knows?
It's probably going to be.
CC's favorite.
It's going to be at least probably $250,000 by the end of the year, and then by the
I
next
agree.
cycle, 100% is going to be $1 million. And
According to
So, yeah.
Bob Lucas, this is the top of a 16-year cycle, and we're gonna have a longer bear. But
I don't listen to anybody.
yeah,
Instincts, what I've seen. There's the link there, buddy, if you want to come in.
I listen to you. Your vein that you're on with such passion, RG3, is changing the way I'm thinking, and in a positive way, and like more responsible way.
Well, I appreciate that, because that's, you know, what I'm trying to do is to get everybody to, I'm not trying to freaking like be a downer and trying to, you know, slap everybody in the face in it, but I'm trying to wake.
You've only talked shit on Bitcoin for your entire existence.
I'm talking shit on DeFi. I'm talking shit on regulators. I'm talking
You
shit.
talk shit on Bitcoin. You call it shitty
Shit
tech.
on all of
You
it.
call it old and slow.
Because you got a bag, bro. Shut the fuck up. You know you got a bag, so you're biased. So shut the fuck up.
Yeah, because it's a great coin.
See what I'm saying, guys? That's back.
He's trolling. He's
See what I'm
trolling.
saying? He thinks
Don't worry
Bitcoin is not a good coin.
Hey, because my Bitcoin's gonna be fine. Your Hex is fucked.
This is called
Where did I
backbias,
say
guys.
Hex was fucked?
It's you don't have to. You're just telling me I'm good, man. I'm gonna sit here, smoke weed, and cash.
Eat my
Hey, man.
bones.
So,
Everything's gonna be fine.
so yeah, you know what FINE stands for? Fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. That's what FINE stands for. It is not fine. You don't want it to be fine. You want things to be good. You want things to work. You want things to last. You want things to grow. You want things to have a depth.
Go.
You want stuff that's going to do good things. And
That's what Bitcoin and Ethereum is doing.
Bitcoin is bullshit, and you know it.
No, it's not. I think
Yes.
you're bullshit and you know it.
Because you got a bag. You got bag ties. That's all. I mean, you can say all you want, bro. You know you're full of shit. You know you're full of shit. You got a bag. And you
No,
want
dude.
to still
Bro.
go up. And it will. You're gonna get your money. You're gonna get it. But
No, I already got it. I already got it.
you know, when
You already sold Bitcoin?
when
To
people
BlackRock. I sold my Bitcoin to BlackRock.
Ah, so
I
that's
said-
why
I
you were
said,
playing dumb.
I went to the headquarters of BlackRock and I said, please, can I sell you my Bitcoin? And they said, give us your Bitcoin. Give it to me. I said, please, give me some cash.
He
Yeah,
said,
so
I want you to have full control of me.
Please regulate our stable coins.
Regulate me, please.
Regulate me harder, daddy.
Oh.
you got
Anyways, guys, I'm taking off. Have a good night. Everything's gonna be fine. Don't worry about
Regulate
it.
me harder, daddy, is the last thing he said.
Regulate me harder, daddy. Clip that.
Clip that. You know. Oh.
my buddy. Well, I mean, look, when you got somebody that doesn't care, they don't care, and that's fine. And we are going to be fine. It's going to be fine for a little while, and
Yeah.
then it'll be not fine. Now, what do? Do you just hope that it's going to be fine, or do you go out and try and make things better? Do you try and prepare for the worst and hope for the best?
Yeah, exactly. And that's how you're helping me to change my frame of reference. I'm not just it seems to be so easy. Like at the beginning of crypto, I was completely passive. Like I didn't get involved with any community. I consumed content, tried to learn, and just bought and was just a ghost. Like some people still are.
Mhm.
And I forgot where I was going with that just now, but it was along the vein of you changing my frame of mind. So yeah, so now I've fallen back into some passivity, and I'm not like before this past week hearing you talk about this and really effectively, by the way, for me personally. So I'm sure it's helping. I've realized like I'm not fighting for a greater cause by doing what I'm doing, existing in this space. Even though that is in my head, I'm not actually doing. I don't have the angle correct in a way. Like it was more just like a vague idea.
Yeah. And so all of us here, especially in Richard's ecosystem, we can trace our feelings towards this space all the way back to Bitcoin's origins. Bitcoin's origins and the white paper is, I will 100% admit that green candles got me to look. The fact that I had somebody ask me for Bitcoin, I got the wallet, I sent the Bitcoin. Now, this was before Ethereum was out, before anything, it was only Bitcoin. Sent them the Bitcoin. Somebody else asked me for some more a few months later. I was like, shit. So I go in there, I look at the wallet, and a few bucks that was in there is now a few $100. You know, I had way more, and I was like, holy crap, this is interesting. So that made me look. And when I started, I was up for 2-3 days reading the white paper, reading everything I could about Bitcoin. And when I did, the further and further down the rabbit hole I got, I was like, oh my gosh, this thing's going to change the world. This is what we need. This is what We as human beings, me as a worker bee out here getting my ass handed to me, this is what we need. See you, Max. This is what we need. We need this. And because of that, that's why I got involved heavily in the crypto space. And I watched Bitcoin decline from 2014 to 2017. How did it decline? I saw the ICO craze. I saw the network marketing craze come in. I saw the pump and dump rooms come in. I was in the back of all that stuff watching it happen. And I was disillusioned by the crypto space and the crypto bros because they were all stealing from each other and they were all bullshitting. And I was ready to get out until Richard started talking. And when Richard started talking, I said, that's the guy that might be able to fix this shit. That's the guy, if he does what he says he's going to do, which I got a feeling he is, because I liked the way he conducted himself. If that's the guy right there that can probably do it. So that's why I hooked my buggy up to Richard. And that's why it gave me more energy to actually stay in this space versus get out, which is what I was going to do in 2018. I was ready to get out, but I all in on Richard and said, okay, let's see what Scooter does here with this thing. And he did. He built something good. And that's why I've been standing here behind it, because Satoshi's principles are here in PulseChain. Bitcoin has lost that. It's done. I don't care what Brasology says. He wants the number to go up because he's got a bag. And that's fine, because that's what most Bitcoiners are doing. That's what most of them want, is number to go up, because they all got bags still. They need that exit liquidity. They need more people in. Now, that has lost all its principles. And if you would have went to that Bitcoin event, you would have saw that there was not one of Satoshi's principles there. They were all saying it. Satoshi on the back. They had fucking baseball jerseys that said Bitcoin across it with Satoshi's name on the back. I mean, it was the most corporate. There were fucking dancing cows with Steak and Shake there.
Yeah.
Dancing.
Maybe Brasology needed to go to that.
It was a spectacle. It was corporatization. It was all the big names in finance were all over the booth. Fidelity, Schwab, BlackRock, boom, boom, everywhere you went. And everybody was happy about it. And I saw none of what Satoshi had tried to do in that event. I saw nobody speaking anything but garbage. I saw people trying to sell their wares that were bullshit. And I know that because I've done these events. I've done DeFi events that were about DeFi. I put them on. I paid for them. I brought people to them. I know what grassroots doing this shit means. That was not. That was a spectacle. I saw millions of dollars worth of audio visual equipment that I was going and looking at how they put their show on and everything. Millions of dollars, sitting there in audio visual equipment so that they could have their newscasters out there doing all of their bullshit, booth girls all over the place, all that kind of crap. The whole thing, man, it was a spectacle. It was not anything of what Satoshi, I didn't hear anybody talking about Satoshi's vision or what he was trying to bring. It was all.
So there's no alpha there. You go there and get no alpha.
No, and I don't want to say anything ill about the people there. They're just not educated. They've been snowballed into this thing. The people that I did talk to, they don't understand DeFi. They don't understand. They think that's what's happening is great. When you show up there and there's all-time highs in Bitcoin, how can you say anything bad about Bitcoin? How can you say anything is wrong with Bitcoin? How can you say that what was going on there is suspect? You can't because they're all in euphoria. They're all happy with what's going on. They think this thing is just going to continue. And it's sad to see, but we knew that it was coming. Richard has been saying it, from the time he launched Hex. He wants to see those go up, because guess what happens when those things go up? We all go up. They're all correlated. There's not causation for when Bitcoin's bought for Hex to go up, but there's correlation in the markets.
Hart's law.
Yeah, Hart's law. So there's correlation. We've seen pump because Bitcoin has been seen pump. ETH's seen pump because Bitcoin's seen pump. So we're seeing that correlation happen. Now, when causation happens and people start buying Hex, and we see whales moving and starting to get out of other stuff and back into the Richard cores, then we'll see more number go up. much faster, much harder than what we're seeing right now. But back to the big picture. The big picture is Richard has kept Satoshi's vision and actually done a better job of it than Satoshi did. Satoshi left. He's gone. He has not said anything since. He had a white paper, and half the white paper is bullshit. There's stuff in Bitcoin. There's games in Bitcoin. There's, there was 3 bugs. There's all kinds of shit that's gone on in Bitcoin that don't prove that it's a great cryptocurrency or a decentralized cryptocurrency. It was digital cash in the white paper. It didn't make digital cash. So Richard has done a better job of it. And even though he's dipped out for the bear market for the time being, handling his business, he's not gone. He's still out there.
I was just about to add, like, you led me to a thought, like, what is he still silent because there's so much litigation continuing, like other things that are keeping him silent?
Here's the thing, bro. I don't know. I don't have a pipeline to Richard. He and I stopped communicating a long time ago. The little bit of communication that he and I did have, very cryptic, very short communications. I mean, we've met each other a couple of times, that kind of stuff. And for good reason. There's a reason why we're disconnected. I'm out here as somebody who's trying to disseminate information on his ecosystem, and he's staying away from me as a guy that's not paying me to do anything, not even thanking me to do this shit. Right. It's like, I'm doing this on my own. Richard has absolutely nothing to do with what I do. And so I don't know what his reasonings are. I can only speculate on what I think. The 3-layer agencies came down on us hard, very, very hard. Subpoenaed the shit out of me over and over and over again. We fought them in court. We went there in support of Richard to his case. So yes, when you have stuff like that, when the United States government agencies are coming at you, you have to be extremely careful about the things you say in public. And you want to make sure that, hey, and more than likely your lawyer is telling you, hey, look, we want you to stay off of the socials and this and that and the other on a regular basis, and stop live streaming. And I wouldn't doubt if lawyers would advise that kind of stuff, to their clients, especially in a big case like that, when you're fighting the top of the top when it comes to 3-layer agencies. And then when you look at the other thing with this Interpol stuff, now I don't know what's going on here with Richard, but I know that you can litigate yourself out of those kinds of things and basically take it up legally with Interpol for, hey, why is this going on? Let's take this to court, whatever. So I've heard of that being the case. So my guess is that that's probably what may be going on, is that they may be trying to litigate that issue and get that.
Yeah, it couldn't be more SEC things, because that's completely over with now, right?
No, that's done with. They had an opportunity to appeal and rewrite their complaint or whatever, and they chose not to. After
I loved that. That was amazing.
Yeah. So Richard, after Richard won his hearing and his case and jurisdiction and a bad complaint that was wrote against him, after he won that and the judge commented on all that, they had the option or the opportunity to appeal it, and they didn't do it in the timely fashion that they were supposed to. So that said that they just, kind of backed off of going after Richard, and not because of, I don't think because of any pressure from any government agency or the executive branch or any of that kind of stuff. I think that they backed off because they knew they didn't have a case, because they didn't,
it just made them look twice as bad.
Yeah, because
back into it with nothing new.
They had a shoddy case that was horribly done. The complaint was horrible. It held no water. The judge said so. And there was nothing else. I mean, literally, it was litigated right there. Like, this is what you got. We got no more. So why would they come back? I mean, that was my thoughts. I was like, they ain't going to come back. They got nothing. They had nothing before. And there's not going to all of a sudden going to be something. There is no smoking gun. There was nothing wrong done. So, they had nothing. And that's where it ended up at. And, you know, now I think that that's the reasons why he's not, you know, streaming or whatever. And really what's the reason to stream, you know? The whole ecosystem's still kind of in a bear market. The whole altcoin season hasn't off yet. So what's he going to do? Sit here and put band-aids on everybody and kiss your boo-boos, you know?
I think it was Jim Rat. Jim Rat was like, why doesn't Richard come back? Like, how cool would that be to see Richard just start tweeting? And I'm like, how boring would that be if he just came back and that was it, and there was no spectacle to it? You know he wants to make a show out of it.
Yeah. So for Jim Rat to say that is kind of extremely ironic.
I think he's just goofing around most of the time.
He just showed up like yesterday after being.
I know. Isn't that funny?
You know, but yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me. But you know,
he's just a goofy guy. I really like him.
Yeah, Jim Rat's a goofy guy. I've met him before. We hit on him a couple times. Yeah, he's all right. But you know, hey, the more the merrier. Again, I'm for a big tent. You know, there is nobody that I don't think has value in this space. I think that we can all learn. I think that we can all do better. I think that we're all necessary. I think that we all speak to different, you know, crowds,
frequencies.
You know? Yeah. I mean, somebody that's going to like me might not like you. Somebody's going to like you might not like me.
Actually, this is exactly what I've realized trying to do these X chats. You get certain people like who I know might get along in person, or you might get along with both of them, that just don't get along. This is relatively a small group with 100 people. Like in my head previously, I just wanted everyone in a big room that we could just all but
that's what I do.
There's no way that's ever going to happen.
Well, that's what I do. I have these events, these in-person events, and I bring.
Yeah, I need to go to this. I need to go to a live meetup. I want to meet. There's a lot of people I want to meet.
It's different when you do get in front of people. People act and react differently in person than they do, you know, on the 2D thing here on the computer. It's everybody's got a different story when you're in person. You know, it's not as violent. There's not as much vitriol. There's not all this bullshit. And, you know, but we've got to have everybody, you know, like, you know, I've been criticized for even talking to the Tiger guy. Right. And, you know, I blocked the guy at first because I didn't like the things he was saying, the way he was acting. You know, it was verging on the side of weirdness and violence, and I didn't.
Yeah.
So I blocked him.
That's why I was just memeing the hell out of it. We like ridiculed the hell out of him at the beginning.
Yeah, and so I watched that, and I was like, okay, yeah, he you know, he kicked over the anthill, and there's
that was so funny.
And you guys ate him up, and you know, but he held his ground, and he fought really hard, and then I heard a space or two where he flipped, and he changed his tone, and he started talking about PulseChain, and then he got excited about it, and I said, oh, this guy opened his eyes and saw some things here.
I don't think that's what happened. I think his bearish. So hear me out. I'm 90% on this. He did all this FUD at the entering into the chain. He was anti-Hexican. He wanted heads on pikes. That was to get all of the attention on himself. And once he got that, he was able to just shut it off, and that spectacle was over.
Yeah,
but he wanted that. That's a really good way to harbor attention. And I think he did it tactfully like that.
Of course, and that's why I've given him the benefit of the doubt to go ahead and go do his thing, because he looks. He wants to do the right thing, and he does go out there and he is, good at what he does. He is, and
He's really good at speaking. He's good at cutting through all of the wasted words. Honestly, people with like decent followings started following me with relatively zero crypto relationship with me, and I'm like, okay, do you own crypto? Well, where'd you get do you like PulseChain? And like 5 of them recently have been like, yeah, Tiger onboarded me recently, and these are just random happenstance things that are happening like out in the wild.
Hey, and
So he's doing a great job.
That's the stuff we need. So, and that's the stuff you need. And, and when you do that kind of stuff, you step on toes, you piss people off, and, I don't like it because I don't think we need that right now. I think that we need to, kind of stop all that stuff and come together and start creating a unified front and become more like-minded and have a shorter narrative and a pinpointed narrative that we're all talking about, and be damned all the egos and everything else. It's like, let's go out and do this thing and do it together. Because if we don't, we're going to be on the table. And I think that if we put a good, let's just say this whole thing stretches out a few years and we don't have any problems, but we put a coalition together of people that are going out and speaking a great message, that are doing professional stuff, that are in the community's growing. And we're not just putting 200-300 people in a room. We're putting 800, 1,000, 10,000 people in a room and for our events. That speaks volumes. That's the kind of stuff that we can put out there in the news media and show what the Hexicans are doing and how we're reacting, and how, showing people what DeFi is. And if we have that, when they're ready to start throttling us down and regulating us or kicking us out of existence, then now we have a voice. Now we have a megaphone. Now we've created something where we have a unified front, where maybe we even have lobbyists on our side, or maybe we even have political advantage on our side because of what we've done, and that's where we need to be when the hammer drops. We need to be in that position. We need to be in a position.
Dude, you're getting me so fired up. I'm with you. I'm resonating at the same frequency now. Like it literally took like 3 or 4 days for me to like finally. I'm right there with you at this point.
Right on, and that's what we need, more people resonating on.
But it's because of you and only you. So your words are effective.
Thanks, bro. But we've always had the ability to do so.
Yeah, I know, but you're
decided not to.
A good voice. Yeah.
Well, thanks, but we've all just decided not to. We've decided on things. We've decided to look at our pains. And look, I know the community is full of pain. And there was something that he said on that last Spaces that Tiger got, or I'm sorry, not him. There was another gentleman that came in, and I'm sorry, I forget his name, but he came in and said, "Hey, man, look, I got in. This thing was at 40 cents or whatever, and I'm hurting. I have a bad taste in my mouth. You OGs, you guys did good, but you got to understand that there's those of us out here that are hurting." And I'm like, I know, I get it, I understand that, I know that, and I'm speaking to you guys. If we want more cycles, if we want to push this to the next, look, we all got in at our entry point, whatever. All-time highs come, every cycle. That's what crypto does. And more than likely, this is going to do it again, but we've got to break through all the gatekeeping and all the stuff. And we've got to be, we've got to have empathy for each other. We've got to build relationships. We've got to speak to the whole community, not just the OGs, have the say so. The new person is actually the most important person in the room, teaching the new person what's going on in the space and how they can help and what they can be part of, and that they can be a voice and they can go out there and speak to people that we can't speak to. Everybody has their worth and their value. And that's the message we need to be speaking out there. And that's what we got to do to get this thing really pumping, and to get a coalition of like-minded people lifting everybody, each other's baskets, and not trying to tear each other down like crabs in a bucket.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that just comes with so much red for so long. That's when you see most of the fighting.
The blood in the streets has hurt everybody, man. Trust me. I mean,
It makes me laugh sometimes. I'm like, look at all this fighting, and it's just because everyone's in so much pain, but we're all in that pain together. It's really funny.
yeah, and this is the time to wake up. This is the time to get in front of things. Get in front of this bull market, get in front of the regulation, get in front of, what's going on in the centralized crypto world. It's time to get in front of it. And I don't know any better community, any smarter community that's going to go out there and do it for us. It's like this community has to be the one to do it. We have to be the ones. We have to lead the charge. We have to save DeFi. Nobody else is. There is no community out there strong enough to do it. The Hexican community is by far, the PulseChain community is by far the hardest working, biggest badasses in all of crypto. End of story, period. You can't fucking change my mind on that. And try and fight.
Oh my God. I'm going to go back and clip that. That is such an awesome 5 seconds.
It's the truth, bro. That's
no, that's why I'm going to clip that, because it's the truth.
It's the truth. That's the real fucking deal, man. You cannot change that fact. And everybody out there in crypto knows it. That's why they hate us, because they ain't us.
Everyone likes to just do what they're told. And if they just, the rest of the market, well, first of all, you can't buy Pulse and Hex anywhere on exchanges. So that makes it hard. But the rest of the market just sees that we're the black sheep and is like, oh, they must be a black sheep for a reason. They're scammers, or whatever narrative they come up with. But I've met a lot of people who are in crypto, more or less. Like it's hard to run into randomly somebody who's as in it as a Hexican is, but who are in crypto who just have predetermined ideas about Richard Hart and Hex because of the bad press that the whole thing's just a big scam. And that's still like the idea.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what they've pinned us with, and that's what they've tried, and we've overcome all that. To be honest, it's really about performance now. It's really about the last little bits of the narrative to go away, and then, like I said, we've been fighting for 6 years. We've been fighting everybody for 6 years. Because of that, this community has become the misfits, the strongest, the underdog. This is the community to go out and change the world. And I don't say that lightly. I say that when things with something as powerful as crypto, something as powerful as DeFi is put in the hands of people like this, if they could only fucking come together, the sky's the limit. You can change the world with this. But everybody has to see that. We have to see that as a community. And that's what
I think unfortunately the easiest way is to put fear, and that's like a date or of something negative imminent coming. And we don't want to get that close before we that's
why I'm saying, I do have fear, because I watched everything that they've done to us all along the way, and we've all seen it. It's all documented that they have aided us from everything, from exchanges to decentralized exchanges, to wallets, to coin ranking sites. You name it, they've kicked us out. And for what reason? Why would they kick us out? There is absolutely no reason for them to kick us out other than Richard has built the best crypto, period, plain, end of story. There is no other reason why. He won the SEC case. Everything else has been bullshit. He's done everything he can to help, and they still continue to gatekeep. So guess what? There's only one reason why. They do not like what he's done. And I've said that from the beginning. I'm like, oh shit, this is going to be a tough one. Richard just built the only DeFi platform that exists, or DeFi crypto that exists, which is Hex. And
the only project I would do a sacrifice for again, or I would actually 100% donate to if it was in the right hands would be like a PulseChain marketing team fund. That's what I would support that,
So,
or I would want to be involved heavily with that.
so that's part of what the community can put together, right? So the community, we are the marketing arm of Richard Hart's ecosystem. We are. We've done the postcard thing. We've done world tours. We've built projects. We've put signs on buses and signs on stickers on stop signs, you name it. We've all gone out there and market, word of mouth marketing, volunteer army. None of us are paid to do so. We're out there trying to speak the good word. Streamer, speaking about the ecosystem. All of us are the marketing arm. Now, we can be, it's hard to market crypto because crypto doesn't market well on television ads and whatnot. But if there was more money coming in, a more organized front, events and things that all coordinate to a marketing plan that gets put together by people a lot smarter than me when it comes to that shit, then we got something. We got a community, we got a marketing arm. So you're right on spot. And that's why I'm saying we need a coalition of people to come together so that we can do that, because that's what the community does is we market, we educate.
Yeah. Yeah, and think about like a sacrifice like liquid loans. I think it was $20 million. We could, I mean, if we could just get a fraction of that, that would be so huge for the community. If we can get creative with like a couple $100,000 of marketing, we could do some viral stuff with that.
So all the projects, that are built on PulseChain, like liquid loans and some of the others, are obviously they're all waiting out the bear market themselves. They're all, they're all suffering the same woes as all of us in our wallets. But they've leaned into, like the PulseChain tour, for instance. When we go to Vegas and we do the big event, they're there sponsoring and supporting and being part of. So my thought is that as we all grow together, as the ecosystem comes together, the projects, the people, the wallet developers, the platform developers, all of them, we all become that unified front to help market and educate the rest of the world so that they can understand what DeFi is and build that strong, loud coalition of people that are speaking to the powers that be, so that they don't regulate us out of existence. So they see the value in what we're doing. And if we legitimize that and we have real events and we have real projects and we have real marketing, then we look legit versus the shit that's going on, and that's what we need. And that's what we need.
I think we need a lot of good press at an event, at a Hexican meetup. We need good press and a really good turnout and just media coverage.
Yeah.
And that would be a huge billboard for us if we could do something.
Yeah. And we, when we did the PulseChain event in Vegas, the 369 event, we hired a company to come in and, do all the video, get the B-roll so that they can see, us coming together and people at the event and, showing that we're more than just an online Twitter space community, that we are actually meeting in person. We're coming together. We're talking about ideas. We're bringing projects, we're having golf events. We're doing all this stuff that basically tries to legitimize us, just like this, Bitcoin event did, and of course it's grown into something completely, out of control. But there's
we don't want to be at that level anyway.
But there's power in that. The general public sees that Bitcoin event with 30,000 people in it.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Professional marketing and like I said, I saw multi-million-dollar audio-visual setups there that were like top of it was just insane. I was like, holy crap, look at this shit. I mean, that's legitimizes this for the retail investor. They see all this stuff and go, oh, this isn't fake. This is a real deal, And even though the people I was talking to and the things that are going on behind the scenes, I know differently as, you know, somebody who's been in the space long enough to know what's good and what's bad and what's not working, what's working, and what's going the wrong direction and what's in the right direction, you know, look at it and go, damn, these people are being snowballed by this, but there's value in that. And even Richard, when he started his outrage marketing, knew that. He knew,
Yeah.
even though that wasn't exactly who he was as a person, to go out there and do that stuff and put things in their face and do all that shit, he knew there was value in that. He knew that it brought users. He knew that it brought adoption, and knew that the crypto bros would flock to it. And
So you just brought up something that brings me back to a thought I just had a minute ago, which is, yes, we want to legitimize the we want to legitimize the community and the chain and Richard Hart, but in order to, usually a viral event or video or what, or moment or whatever it is, something viral is not necessarily the thing that's going to make us look the best.
of course,
But I want to create something viral.
well, and
so
you never know what's going to go viral. You know, you might
yeah,
be trying to do something and you onboard your neighbor, and your neighbor's aunt does something that goes viral, right? I mean,
yeah.
you know what that viral. So trying to create a viral event is like ludicrous. It just happens, you know. It just
Yeah. No, I just want to be open for that. It's not like I'm trying. You can't synthesize something like that. But like when we recorded Charles Hoskinson losing his mind at Richard Hart, I literally, I went in there. I planned on it being me. It ended up being Shill Gates, and he knocked it out of the park.
yep.
But we were just goofing around, kind of. Like
Yeah,
Richard Hart launched
powerful moment.
Cardano, and I was like, let's troll Charles, and it turned into a way bigger thing than I anticipated it being. So by wanting to, by saying I desire that, I just want to be there, ready to capture it if it's something that can happen. And I might have to make myself not look the most professional doing something like that. So
But again, you know, we all who are who we are, you know, and I'm not telling people to change who they are and put on a suit and tie. I'm the last person to say we need to look all like that. You know, that's not me. I'm this guy. You know, this is the guy I am. Period. End of story. I'm not faking the funk.
yeah,
I'm not trying to be a pirate. That persona is who I am. This is who I am. You know, this is what I do. I'm not going to change that. But
yeah,
we change our uh, our the way that we present ourselves. We can change that. We can change the narrative. You know, we could use better discernment. We can, instead of going out and trying to punch people in the face, steer clear of all that stuff and try and speak positive. Look, I'll be the first one to admit I did all that stuff too. We went out and punched people in the face. We went out and danced on people's freaking coffins. We did that shit. I'm not, you know, I'm not innocent here. But what got us to where we're at now isn't going to get us to where we got to go. We have to change the image of what it is we're all doing here. And, you know, I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I think it's just everybody being themselves and doing their thing. Like, you've got your shtick, like you do your thing. You're funny, you're talented. People like it. They enjoy it. It fits in a space, you know, but if you're doing that and you're speaking at a higher level of what all this means to people like you and your audience,
yeah,
to their futures. And, you know, yeah, I got your attention by doing my stick and making you laugh or making you, you know, think this is cool and fun. But here's the serious part of it. Here's what I'm trying to do. Here's what me and all these people are trying to do. And then again, there's a flavor for everybody. You don't like me, don't lick me. Go lick somebody else, right? And that's how we have to react here. Now, there's going to be suit and ties. There's going to be all those people that are going to come, but we have to attract them. And the way we attract them is, you know, by being leaders and by using better discernment in how we act. It's one thing to have, you know, your stuff, like I said, your stick and all that, who we are, is fine. But we do have to start talking at a higher level and coming together at a different level and bringing it. We got to really bring it. And, you know, all this other stuff is going to bring attention to people. But when we start bringing it, they're going to go, and they're smart, and they get it, and they're speaking DeFi.
Yeah, that might just be the final push.
Yeah. So anyway, I think
That's just every card. I agree with that.
right on, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you, and I appreciate what you're doing out there, man. And I'm rooting for you. I'm a fan. And
You too. So am I. Everything is. I mean, I think so highly of you.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate it. So with that, tell everybody where they can catch you and catch your stuff. Go ahead and show
Joshua_Woo on Twitter, and then Joshua Woo on YouTube. Music, skits. I just did my first TikTok. I don't love TikTok, but everyone's saying you can get a new audience there. So far, I've gotten 37 views. So I think I have to upload a bunch more to like trick the algorithm or something. So I have a lot of videos to film.
Yeah. Hey, go on AI and ask them what you got to do, man. Go out there.
That's smart. Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, get into AI and figure out what you got to do and just go out and do it. That's the way to handle anything these days.
We have two banger songs, and these are just general PulseChain / Hex songs, and they're bangers. Freddie Quotes and Corey the Investor may be on one of them together. These next two ones are going to be for the Hexicans, and it's really fun.
Yeah, those two have done good work in the space, that's for sure. Right on. All right, everybody. Hey, hang out in the green room for a quick second. All right, everybody. Okay. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you all. I think Thursday's going to be Burn It All, our cigars and crypto show. If you don't like cigars, don't show up. We're just going to talk base crypto and smoke a couple of sticks. But you're welcome to come if you like. That's on Thursday nights, and we'll be back for the FN Hangout. Hey, Bitcoin event was great. It sucked. It is. We've got a long way to go. Come together, guys. Let's get this thing banging. We've got what it takes. Nobody's better than the Hexicans out there as far as making crypto real for the real world. And we got to go do it together. We'll see you, man.